Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Hey, everybody. Welcome. Oh, what happened? We're upside down. April Fools. Oh, man. It's funny because
that made me sick.
Yeah, I know. Don't do that again, Steve. We're going to throw up on set. I get car sickness, too. Along with Dustin Fox and Tyvis Powell, I'm the future play-by-play voice of the Cleveland Rockers. Adam the Bull. We've got Mike, and we've got Steve, we've got Anthony.
He's selling that.
I'm selling it until the team comes to being. I want to be their play-by-play guy.
Why don't you push for it?
I am pushing.
That's what he's doing.
You're dead serious about this?
I'm 100% serious. I want
it
to
started
be their
last
play-by-play
week.
guy.
Well, you should definitely get it.
Yeah, I don't even know.
You should have a chance.
I don't even know who I need to talk to, but I need to talk to somebody.
When is the franchise?
I believe 28. Oh, 28, I think.
Okay.
But anyway, what did you? Oh, April Fools.
Does Gilbert own the Rockers?
I don't.
Whoever they're,
I think
are
so.
they for sure
Part
the
of
Rockers?
ownership group that purchased them. So
Okay.
yeah, I think. And Steve has all the cameras all messed
All
up.
right.
So this actually might be an issue because he's trying to fix it. And
Oh, that's why he's still doing it because it's not correcting.
I'm not sure he knows how to fix this. I'm not kidding. I'm being dead serious.
Oh
right
my
now.
God. Speaking of which, obviously be very careful on Twitter today. All social media.
Stay off it.
There's people. People are jerks enough on social media, but it's going to be even worse today. And I go every morning. I do.
Tiger Woods had the lamest one today.
That was
Oh,
terrible.
did he?
so
What'd he
bad.
do?
So
What'd he
bad.
do?
Mikey, you want to tell him?
He basically said, even though I'm only a few weeks out from tearing my Achilles, thanks to these crazy workouts in the hyperbolic chamber, I'm ready to play in a couple weeks. And it's like,
See you at the Masters.
No, you're not. Come on.
No.
Lame.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's very rarely a good April Fool's prank. Very rarely. Usually it's like.
No, they're never good.
By the way, there was something.
I feel bad getting people on April Fools.
3 years ago today was the last Bull and Fox show on 92
people
The Fan.
thought that
Some people thought it
if
was.
they didn't hear it, like you're
Right.
leaving,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, this is like a joke. Come
It
on.
just worked out that way because it was a Friday.
How many years ago was that?
3 years.
Dude,
You
man.
believe it?
I can't.
And here y'all are.
And here we are, back together again.
Now.
There you go.
Bull and
It's
Fox.
good.
Why look?
We're going to talk about Jimmy Haslam's comments. We got a couple of guests today. One football on the draft, one basketball. The Guardians with a bad performance last night to fall to 2-2.
Hedgie.
That's all coming up. So every morning, by the way, I do Wordle, and I do.
My buddy's into that Wordle thing.
Used to play, and then I stopped
Wait,
forever.
Wordle is the one where you got the 5 letters.
Yeah.
And you got to get
Yes.
the word for the one day.
Yes.
Every day it changes.
Yes.
I haven't done that since
I was playing it,
college.
and then I stopped for almost a year, and now I've been playing again for 3.5 months, and I'm 91 out of 92 getting it right. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have a high percentage. But then I follow that, and then I immediately play, what do you call it? The thing with the 9 boxes for baseball and football?
The grid.
Yeah, wherever it's.
Oh, the one with me that you be using.
Yeah, I try to get you and Dustin in there because you got such low percentages.
What?
What's it
You don't
called?
know that?
Immaculate Grid.
No idea what
Immaculate
this
grid,
is.
yes.
Okay, so there's this thing called Immaculate Grid. They have it for. I usually do the baseball and football. They also have basketball and women's basketball and soccer.
Okay.
I don't do those. But I do baseball and football every day. And
Every day? Like in the morning?
yeah, I do it in the
It's the
morning.
first thing to do?
I mean, not
It's
the
like,
first thing,
like
but one of
Wordle
the
is something you start off your day with, right?
Yes.
A lot of guys do.
Wordle, especially because a lot of times I'll wake up before anybody else in my house gets up. I'll wake up at 5:30, 6 in the morning,
Okay.
and I do those things right away. I can't do.
It's like your meditation time.
Yes, Immaculate Grid you can't do till 6 o'clock, but Wordle you can do anytime.
They
So-
got a-
I'm about to
they got a
start-
time on
It
this?
starts.
It gets released?
every 24 hours at 6 a.m. Wordle at midnight and Immaculate Grid 6
And
a.m.
everyone gets the same grid?
Everyone gets the same grid for the day. Every day there's a new grid.
Okay.
So
But you could cheat if you wanted to.
what do you mean? Off somebody else?
Yeah, you could
oh
go on,
yeah, but
go
what
on
would be the point
Twitter
of
and
that?
find it. No, I know. But so you're just testing yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's just, I don't share my results.
Yeah,
That's-
like you don't win anything.
No. But my dream, and I haven't had this yet, is so a lot in the football one. A lot of times it'll have teams on the side and teams on top, or it'll say played for only one team, or Pro Bowler, or first round pick. But I need, and I've never seen this before, I need on one column, I need either Seattle or San Francisco, and then I need one of his teams and one of your teams. You both played for 2 teams. I've put you both in there, but never on the same bracket because there's never been Seattle or San Francisco and Buffalo or Philly on each side.
Yeah, okay.
So
So the day that happens, you're going to have
yeah, I'm going to have the great score because the lower percentage of people that pick your person, the better your score.
Well,
So you guys, every time I put you in, it's always like 0.005.
So you pick athletes?
Yeah.
You gotta show me this later, man.
Yeah, I'll show you.
You into it?
I've no
But
idea.
anyway, the reason I brought this up in the first place,
Fascinated by
real
it.
quick, last thing, is that today on Immaculate Grid, it was so stupid because you just could list any, it said any, played Major League Baseball. So I just picked the most obscure names possible in the history of Major League Baseball.
And you compete against the world?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever won?
Oh, have I ever had the best score?
Have you ever been top 100?
I actually don't even look at where it ranks. I don't even look at that. But I probably have a couple of times. But yeah,
I'm sure
go
you
ahead,
have.
Mike.
Well, we got two big guests. Jordan Reid of ESPN is joining us at 11:30
Yeah.
to talk Browns and what they're going to do in the first round and later in the draft. Plus, Tom Haberstroh of the Big Number, Yahoo Sports NBA Insider, joins us at noon. So I want to get into a lot of what Jimmy Haslam said yesterday after a quick word from Fanduel. March Madness is here, guys. The Final Four is this weekend, and Fanduel is giving you a chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet hits. That is $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. You can even pick who's going to cut down the nets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. We have a winning ticket today. This comes from Rick Hakala, who won $45 on just a $5 bet from that Cavs Magic game a couple weeks ago. He had a 3-part parlay, first basket scorer, Garland over 2 made threes, and Allen to record a double-double. It all hit, so shout out to Rick Hakala for the winning ticket. If you have a winning ticket, send it in to us so we can feature it here on UCSS.
All right, let's get to it, Mike. Jimmy speaking at the owners' meetings.
He gave a lot of interesting comments, and Bull, we're going to let you read these once Steve pulls up the graphic, but he talked on a number of different things, including not forcing a quarterback at 2 if they don't believe it. It was a swing and miss in Watson and a little bit of the stadium. So we will get into all of those. Steve, Haslam quote here. Haslam quote, Steve, is 270.
By the way, as you guys get this ready, let me say that I think at this time of year we always say,
but we got it. This is the first quote.
Before you put it up, real quick.
Got some important.
No, this has to do with what you're putting up. At this time of the year, we always say, don't pay attention to what the GM and the coaches say, right? Don't pay attention to it.
It's silly season.
It is. But with the owners aren't savvy. They're not as used to talking to the media. The owner could sometimes put his foot in his mouth, and maybe he's a little more honest than anybody else.
You don't go out there thinking, I don't want to offend somebody.
I don't want
to piss off my boss.
Well, but not even that. It's just like you may reveal information that the coach or GM may not want you to reveal. That being said, let's hit the first one here.
And this was Haslam on the team's plans for the draft, Bull, if you want to read it. Go ahead.
It would be great if we could get the quarterback, but we're not going to force it. We're going to be patient, and we're going to try to accumulate as many really good football players as we can. I think the message is if the right person is there, we're going to take him. If not, we'll figure it out for a year or two until we get the right person. We need good football players. There's good football players in the draft, and we got to make sure we get the right ones for us. So, again, taking into account the possibility that maybe he's just blowing smoke like the GM and the coach, does that statement make you think, Tyvis, that they are not drafting a quarterback at 2?
Yes.
Okay.
It does make me think that. It makes me think that what it makes me think is that if Cam Ward is available, if the Titans decide to skip over Cam Ward and they take Abdul Carter, I believe that the Browns will take Cam Ward with the second pick. If Cam Ward does go first, I think that they're going to go best player available because they probably look at it like how they're probably listening to what the experts have been telling us all along is that, Cam Ward is clearly head and shoulders above everybody else. The rest of the 2 through 4 is probably all jumbled in like right here. They neck and neck with each other. And I think the Browns look at it like, okay, so if we don't get Shador, that'll be fine. If we don't get Jackson Dart, maybe that's fine as well. Because Tyler Shook, or maybe they feel Jalen Milroe, they can figure something out with those guys that they can come in and be serviceable and get the same type of result that a Shador could. I think that's what they're looking at after doing their homework, but they can't pass up on a prospect. And the more that I look at this draft, a lot of people has been saying it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to take Abdul Carter with 2. And I just don't know 100% how much I believe that, because now that I sit back and do more and I think about it more and I process everything that's going on, Obviously AB talked a lot about Travis Hunter. The reason why Travis Hunter at 2 makes more sense than Abdul Carter, and a lot of people won't want to hear this, is because there are a bunch of good edge rushers in this draft. There are not a bunch of good playmaking wide receivers or DBs in this draft. So therefore, Travis Hunter in this year's draft, only in this year's draft, to me, is the guy that's you can't pass up on because you can't get that later on. If you miss out on Abdul Carter, you might be able to get the kid from Marshall. You might be able to get the guy from Texas A&M if he drops in the draft. The chances are you can make up for missing out on an Abdul Carter. Same way you can make up for missing out on a Shador. But you can't make up for missing out on Travis Hunter because after Travis Hunter, the wide receiver talent is very thin in this draft. And you don't hear a lot about the corners in this draft as well. So therefore, if you got a prospect that can do that, that's the guy that you get, and that's who I think they should take at 2.
Dustin, agree or disagree that A, this means they're not drafting a quarterback, and B, do you agree with Tyvis about Travis Hunter?
I don't know that I agree on either one of those, to be honest with you. I think that they are still in the market. Obviously, you read the comments from him.
Yeah.
They're trying to find the quarterback. And so, just because today's April 1st, so we got a few weeks here until the Browns actually have to make that selection.
23 days.
I don't know that they know what they're doing at 2 right now. And they still have 3 more weeks to do more evaluations, to talk to more people, to make sure that the guy that they do take it to is the right fit. I would say the comment is a little telling. It's almost like he's giving us, preparing us for if they don't take one. I don't think it means that they're not going to take one. It's just they're preparing us if the wrong guy, we don't want to take the wrong guy at 2. So I will be curious. I talked with Zach this morning a little bit from the meetings, and we were kind of going back and forth about it. And in fact, I asked him that very same question.
Yeah.
And he thinks that they could be in the market for one of those late first, maybe trading back in or trading down the first round. Who knows? Yeah. But one of those Jackson Dart, Milroe could be a Brown. I think, and I kind of agree with that take. If that is what they feel about Shador, and they don't feel like he's the guy to take it to, hey. What if you take Travis Hunter and you get Milroe in the second round and you decide to just develop him for the next year or so? Maybe you play Pickett. Maybe Kirk Cousins comes through. Who knows? I don't know, man. I just think that it is very fascinating to see what's going to happen at pick number 1 right now. Because if Cam Ward ends up being there, the Browns are taking him. Guaranteed.
Yes. That's guaranteed. 1,000%.
A couple of things I took out of this. One, I also got the sense that they wanted Cam Ward based on Jimmy is transparent.
Yes.
Unlike Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski play games when they talk smartly. Yeah. Jimmy Haslam has no ability to do that. So when he said we're not going to reach, that makes me convinced that either Andrew Berry or somebody in the front office has said that we're not going to take Shador Sanders. Again, I'm just reading into it. We don't know for sure. That's my take of it. So, but if Cam Ward is the guy they want, then they should be. I know that, and they're not going to admit they're looking to trade up to 1. But if Tennessee is willing to consider an offer and the Browns are convinced that Cam Ward is a franchise quarterback, then they should absolutely try to trade up to 1. If that doesn't work out and they can't get Cam Ward, then I agree with you, Tyvis. They should absolutely if they don't believe Shador is head and shoulders better than the other quarterbacks, then they should absolutely draft Travis Hunter and then take a quarterback, like you said, Dustin, either early in the second round or even if they feel like they have to trade up to the back end of the first round, fine. Because if the gap between Dart and Shuck and Milroe and Sanders, in their opinion, is not much, well, get the guy who's probably the most talented player in this draft, and then get the guy you might think is still the second best quarterback, somewhere between 20 and 33. And if it doesn't work out, and after a year you're like, I don't know that this quarterback's the guy, well, you're still probably drafting pretty high next year, and maybe you can get a quarterback next year. Drafting one in the late first round or the early second round does not stop you from drafting a quarterback in the first round next year.
I think Jalen Milroe could be a Brown.
I mean,
not like high first round. I think late first round, early second, I think he could be a pick for the Browns if they don't take a quarterback at 2. We're trying to get Daniel Jeremiah on the show at some point.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, he talked about this on his podcast. It was fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, like in baseball terms, because you're the baseball guy,
Yeah.
when they're looking at prospects coming out, he talked about this on his podcast, DJ did. You know, like an elite level prospect, the highest score you can get is an 80.
Sure,
You know
yeah,
that
right.
number?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So he was talking with some folks in NFL front office and like kind of had this conversation about like these quarterbacks. Do any of these quarterbacks have the 80?
Yeah.
In any of the traits? And he was told none do have anything that's an 80 except Jalen Milroe's running ability.
Right.
Which is crazy because you think about who's in our division.
Yeah.
How the Browns have built their defense to stop that guy in Baltimore.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Milroe could be a hell of a dynamic player. He's raw, like he needs to develop more as a passer.
Yeah.
But he's super smart, super great leader, like all those things. And oh, by the way, his old quarterback coach is on our roster.
Here's the question, Tyvis. I want to ask you based on what you said. I want you to answer it too, but you first, Tyvis. Jalen Milroe, obviously there's some raw ability, no doubt. He amazing athlete. You talked about he's an 80-score athlete, top of the line.
Yeah,
top of the line.
He's got a big-time arm, right? He can throw the deep ball, great. He has no touch right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big problem, the mid-range throws. Is that something you think can be fixed with coaching and hard work? Because it seems like the guy's a hard worker. There should be no reason he couldn't fix it if that's possible. Or is that something you just have or you don't?
No, I think you can work on touch. I think that what it comes down to is when I look at Jalen Milroe for the Browns, to me, I think they look at it's a high risk, high reward type of thing. Because Kevin's offense, to me, the way that everybody tries to describe it is they say it's very simple. You know, you only got like 2 reads, and if not, tuck it and run. You know, and I think when you look at a guy like Jalen Milroe, who everybody says is very smart, they say he won the Heisman for knowing quarterback, being a smart quarterback, and things like that.
Yeah.
For a guy like that, if he understands, because Kyler Murray said, all you got to know how to do is read defense. If you can read defense, you could be successful in this. And I like to look at quarterbacks like a Kyler Murray because that's kind of as close to this. Not he's obviously a better athlete than Kyler Murray is.
Yeah.
Even though Kyler Murray was a first-round baseball player, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
As far as running ability, he's better than that. Kyler Murray at the beginning of this past season, first year in the system, looked really good.
Yeah.
And then obviously things kind of fell apart towards the end. So to me, I look at Jalen Milroe like if they work with him, because Tommy Rees obviously worked with him before, and they went from benching him to starting him, and then he went on to have a really good season. So Tommy Rees already knows how to work with this guy to get him going, what to say. I think you got to clean up the footwork, which is one thing that I read about him. His footwork is not that great. So once you clean that up, and then he's got to realize, like, okay, every ball I'm not throwing at 100 miles an hour. Like, I need to give my –
learn to pet the puppy, man.
Exactly. Like, you got to at least take some of this off. Like, if I'm throwing it from me to you, like, I don't need to throw it 100 miles an hour. I can take some of this off.
So explain
and
this.
That's what he needs to learn.
Explain this to me, guys.
Yeah.
He was at Alabama, right? I know Nick Saban left, but Nick Saban coached him.
Yep.
I mean, he was around great coaches. There's great coaches at Alabama. Why weren't they able to fix some of those issues? And Kevin Stefanski
He was only a 2-year starter, Adam. I mean, he
Yeah.
played his first year starting was with Saban. He had better numbers than this year. I can't necessarily speak for the system, but I mean, I know it would have to be challenging to go from like this whole crazy dynamic of Nick Saban and this dominant team to then a completely new coach, new staff, and offense. So,
but the footwork, though,
the footwork and
that's
stuff,
an issue.
The footwork is always a thing.
But here's
Patrick Mahomes got footwork issues.
Okay.
But in times, you're an elite athlete, okay? I was an elite athlete one day at one point in my life, and
You still are.
we
You
get
play,
away with
you
more.
play tennis.
Well, what I'm not trying to like talk about that right now. But point is, sometimes when you're an elite athlete, you can get away with more.
Correct.
And you don't necessarily worry about fundamentals.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm telling you, I got away with a lot of shit because I was a really good athlete.
Right. And the higher level you go, the less you can get away with.
Correct.
And eventually it catches up.
Yes,
Correct.
That's a fact.
Yeah, right. Obviously, he was just so much more talented than everybody he played pee-wee ball with and high school ball with.
It's like Cam Ward. They talk about.
Bro, they snapped the ball to him and he could just run for a touchdown.
right.
Yeah,
Play.
and it would be.
Why would you work on footwork?
You would definitely come see that. I think Browns fans would.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that'd be exciting. Now, I'll say this last thing before we move on to the next comment. if Jalen Milroe's the pick, he's not starting in the beginning of the season.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, don't say it. He needs to sit for
There's another quarterback that played at Alabama that just won a Super Bowl, not really throwing the ball all that much.
That's true.
I'm just saying.
He need to sit.
He made big plays, though.
He got to sit for
and the Browns.
Oh, I wouldn't play him right
You know
away.
why? Because of the simple fact that at Alabama they ran a spread offense. He's coming back.
Yeah.
He's got to learn a pro style offense. He's got to learn how to run that. Give him some time. Give him some time.
And they have to get a stud running back to go with him.
Give him
How
some
much time? How much time did they give Lamar Jackson? Because Flacco was there.
I
right?
think
8 games,
I think
what?
he took up week 11.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
The
All right,
next
Mike, go ahead.
comment that
Next,
Jimmy Haslam made that
yeah.
made the rounds was in reference to Deshaun Watson. And once you put a full bowl, the 4
Yeah.
years.
We took a big swing and a miss with Deshaun. We thought we had the quarterback. We didn't, and we gave up a lot of draft picks to get him. So we've got to dig ourselves out of that hole. The trade was an entire organization decision. It ends with D&I, so hold us accountable. I think we talked about this in overtime yesterday because it just came out at the time. So we reacted to it a little already, that comment. What did you think about Jimmy saying publicly, Tyvis, that, hey, it's obvious, but nobody in the organization had said that publicly?
I mean, it's the step in the right direction. You know, a lot of fans felt relief, like, all right, finally somebody took some accountability for that.
Right.
And it's nice to know that he's not oblivious to what's going on. You know, people that sit there and like, oh no, he's our guy, we're good, he's gonna be back for us and all those things. No, this is him saying like, we messed up. We messed up, and we acknowledge that we messed up, and now we're trying to find a way to fix those things.
Yeah.
So I respect him for being able to do those things, and it was refreshing seeing that being said. Because even though everybody kind of knew it already, but like to see somebody say it publicly, especially the owner, the head guy in charge of everything saying it, like that tells you right there, like, yeah, the DW4 is done in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Look, here.
Yeah.
I totally with you on everything you said. I mean, it's finally because there are some fringe lunatics out there that still believe there was a chance that he was going to come play for the Browns or whatever at some point because he's still on the payroll. Like, it's not over yet. No, it's over. It's over.
That's it.
That ship
That was
sailed.
the final blow.
Yeah.
That was the final straw.
Yep.
Like, he's never going to put on the uniform again. He'll probably never step inside the building again.
Yeah. No.
Well, he's rehabbing.
Yeah. I did think it was funny. One part that you didn't put in there, and we didn't talk about this yesterday either. D. Haslam apparently said, it didn't work out because of the injuries. Now, obviously, injuries played a big role in this, but it wasn't just the injuries. Mm-hmm. He was crappy on the field when he was healthy, for the most part. All right, fine. We got one more quote from
One last thing
Jimmy.
on Deshaun, then we'll get to the stadium part of it. But we have had endless discussions on this show online of who was driving the bus for the Deshaun Watson trade, right? We've gone back and forth. Was it a Berry decision? Was it an ownership decision? Stefanski, who? The fact that the Haslams, Jimmy specifically, came out and said, hold us accountable, does that make you think that, or does it give you any clarity on who you think was driving the bus?
No.
Or do you think they're just taking the blame for it?
I think they
Whether
just
it was their choice or
I
not?
think they just taking the blame for it because at the end of the day, if he takes the blame for it, what they gonna scrutinize him? No,
He said it was an organization. I'm sure they were all on board.
Yeah.
It's easy to say
you
it
don't make
now.
a call like that without having everyone.
No.
Like even if you're Jimmy Haslam, as much as you paying the money and you run everything, you still want your people around you to support the decision.
That's right. And by the way, again, it's all revisionist history. That everybody's negative about it now. At the time, it made a lot of sense. Number two, the relationship with Baker, having nothing to do with Deshaun Watson, had already soured. They might have had to move on anyway. So I don't believe that Kevin Stefanski, I will never believe that Stefanski and Berry didn't want Deshaun Watson. I don't buy that at all.
Yeah,
now,
right.
when he turned them down, and then Jimmy said, let's offer him all this more money, maybe they thought that was a bad idea. I think that's possible. But I don't believe that there was ever a time where Stefanski and Berry weren't interested in Deshaun Watson at all. I don't believe that.
How could you not be?
Yeah.
I'm about to say coming off of the year that he had
With no talent around them in 2020.
Yeah. It was at that time it was everybody thought it was the right thing. Obviously you look back fast forward now it was terrible.
Yes.
But at the time Deshaun was one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
That's correct.
So.
That's correct. All right, Mike, let's hear
The last
Jimmy.
thing that Jimmy said that I thought was at least worth discussing was in relation to the Browns' new stadium. He talked about how excited they were to get it. And this is what he said in terms of the funding and whether or not that comes through.
All right, here's Jimmy. I mean, here's the positive is we will know on the state funding by June 30th. And so assuming that goes well, then we can then move quickly to try to start sometime in the first quarter of 26. So this is not going to be a drawn-out 2 or 4 year deal. It's either going to happen and happen quickly, or we'll go to Plan B. Now, listen, here's the thing. I've said this once. I've said it a million times.
But real quick, he said Plan B was renovating downtown.
Yeah, right. Okay. They're not renovating the downtown stadium. This is not happening. There's no chance. This is Jimmy. Listen, we got politicians saber-rattling in Cleveland, and we got Jimmy saber-rattling. Neither side is genuine here. They're both looking at their own political interests, both the politicians in Cleveland and Jimmy Haslam. That's all they care about. The state should never spend money on sports teams, in my opinion. It should never come from taxpayer money. However, it probably will. But even if it doesn't, Jimmy is a multi-billionaire. This facility is going to make him billions of dollars. So if he has to put in that extra $600 million by himself, which again, I don't think he's going to, because I think the state is going to give him that money. But even if he does, he's going to do it 100% because he knows what's coming for him money-wise. There's no way they're renovating that stadium. No chance.
I would say I think you're right about that.
Right, yeah.
In terms of like what people want or whatever, this is all politics. Period. This is going to come down to the politicians at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And there are going to be people that love the idea of the stadium being in Brook Park.
Yeah.
And there are going to be people that hate the idea. I just saw the Kelsey brothers did a podcast, and they're ripping the idea that taking away the stadium.
But
from
they
downtown.
love the rendering, though.
But they love the rendering. It's like, okay.
Everybody's going to love it.
We all want to be nostalgic.
Yeah.
Until you're sitting in that dump down there by the stadium watching a 1-16 team.
And by the way, the great teams didn't play at that stadium.
Why you got to call
it? May have been that location, but not that stadium.
A stadium.
It's a dump. Come on.
It's an absolute dump.
It's awful.
They have painted a lipstick on a pig with that dump down there.
There's no chance they're renovating that. This stadium's going to be open in, 29?
29, correct.
And the only question is, will the state contribute the money or will Jimmy pay for it all himself?
He gave almost $300 million to Deshaun Watson. He can't come with $600
I mean, come
for
on.
a cash cow?
They spent money on the Bucks. He's got the Columbus Crew. I mean,
it's pretty simple.
Please.
His buddy's tied up.
His money's not tied up.
His money all tied.
That stadium's happening. There's no debate on that. It's just who's going to end up paying part of it. All right, Mike. We got our first guest coming up in a couple of minutes.
In a sec, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Dustin mentioned the Kelseys when they chimed in on the stadium thing, and I wasn't sure if we were going to have time for it, but I think it is worth asking. Dustin, so you played in the NFL. Tyvis, you played in the NFL. The Kelseys both played in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Jason Kelce admitted that he may come off as a curmudgeon in the instance because he likes playing outdoor football. He likes the elements. He talked about the playoff game against the Rams that the Eagles had this year. He's in favor of that. When we listen to people's opinions on the stadium, dome, downtown, outdoor, whatever, do players' opinions, do we have to take that with a bit of a grain of salt? Because they're not looking at it from the same standpoint that 99.9% of people who attend a game are looking at it. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
Like a player versus fan perspective is totally different.
Yeah, no, it totally is. The fan experience is way different than the players.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Tyvis,
that's a fact. Yeah. Because the big difference is that although for a fan that goes to a game in an outdoor stadium and it's like snowing, they literally sit there in cold for 3 hours. A player has heated benches, a blowtorch on the sideline, heated sidelines, all of those things. So they're
and you're playing,
and you're moving around. So you have three things that actually keep you warm for a little bit. Yeah. So that to me is a huge difference. Now the Kelce saying what they said about playing in the cold, they because I like to have an advantage. I like the weather to come and play a factor into it.
I don't buy into that.
I don't like that. Yeah. Because see, now that's an excuse, and when I beat you, I don't want it to be, oh, you know what, you beat us because the weather, because it was the snow and we couldn't get our. I don't want to hear that. Like when I beat you, I want you to know that it was perfect elements. Everything was great. Everything was equal. And I'm just a better person than you. I'm a better player than you. That's just me. So that's why, to me, I like the fact of having a dome. Yeah. So it's all fair and even. I don't never have to hear no excuse about, oh, it was too hot or it was too cold and all of those things. I want to come to a game, have a clear mind, not have to worry about the elements, but worry about my assignment and what I need to do to dominate.
And Cleveland has hardly been a home field advantage. The Browns haven't often had a winning record at all.
And Adam, I don't even know that
Yeah.
it really is
Yeah.
a home, like in terms of the outdoor stadium being a home field advantage. People
Yeah.
talk about that all the time. It's like, I played in Buffalo,
Yeah.
so we're in the AFC East. The Dolphins came to play us.
Yeah.
We had to go down there and whatever. It's actually more of an advantage for those guys because they practice in the heat every day. We got to go play in the heat down there.
Yeah.
It's a little different than like half those guys for the Dolphins. Probably more than half didn't grow up in Miami. Like they're from the Midwest.
I know, that's true. That is
half the Dolphins played in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's true. And so that I do think that part is very overrated.
Yeah,
And
totally is.
for the fans, I know there's some fans that want to be in the hot weather and want to be in the cold weather and the snow. I think most fans would rather sit in
It's also
climate control.
It's nostalgia. Dude.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
All right, let's go. Go ahead, Mike.
We have our guest, so we are thrilled
Good.
to bring in an NFL draft expert we have yet to have on the show. After a quick word from Game Time. Guys, there's nothing like the energy of a Major League Soccer match, the chants, the atmosphere, the last-minute goals. If you want to experience it all live, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever with last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and lowest price guarantees. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLS tickets. Plus, ticket prices actually drop as kickoff gets closer, so you can score amazing seats at a great price. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in Jordan Reid. He covers the NFL draft for ESPN to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show to talk about the Browns draft day scenarios. How you doing today, Jordan?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good, Jordan. Thanks for joining us. I don't know if you heard Jimmy Haslam's comments, so I'll just recap them for you just in case. But we've kind of been on the with the idea of, hey, the Browns need a quarterback. If we saw them taking Shedeur Sanders if Cam Ward was gone at 1. But yesterday, Jimmy Haslam, and I know this time of the year you try not to listen to when people speak from teams, but the owner isn't as savvy a speaker as the coach and the GM who are able to keep their mouths shut. The owner kind of shoots from the cuff a lot of times. And he said specifically, we know we need a quarterback, but we're not going to reach for one at 2. We heard that, and we said, oh, well, they're not taking Shedeur Sanders now at 2, because otherwise why would the owner say that? I don't know if you heard it, but if now you have, what do you think about that? And if the Browns do pass on Shedeur Sanders at 2, are they doing the right thing or are they making a mistake?
Yeah, I actually did hear it, and I saw it just scrolling some social media yesterday, and I definitely thought it was really interesting just because everybody knows that the Browns need a quarterback. That's the worst-kept secret, even though they traded for Kenny Pickett. We know he's not the long-term answer. So it's like, what do you do going into next season? What is your answer, whether it's Kirk Cousins or if you take a guy at number 2 overall? But if we're just stacking the talent at number 2 overall, and if you take the best player available, then you're either taking Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. Now, who do you take in that scenario? In my personal opinion, I would take Travis Hunter just because I think he's the best player in the draft. And even though the Browns don't have an immediate need, in my opinion, at corner, they do have one at wide receiver opposite of Jerry Jeudy. So you add in Travis Hunter alongside Jerry Jeudy, and then you ride it out with a Kenny Pickett or a Kirk Cousins, or if you do bring in another veteran, and you essentially punt into next year's draft to get a guy at the top of the draft if you are in position for that. And that's not to say they still can take a quarterback in the second or even the third round, whatever they choose to do. But if we're just strictly stacking the talent and we're taking the best player available, I think you have to take Travis Hunter at number 2 overall.
Jordan, we all kind of had the agreement. Man, I don't know about you, Dustin. Me and Boyd did about Travis Hunter probably being the number 2 pick. The reason I said that is because I feel like in this talent, there's a lot of edge rushers that has a lot of talent and a lot of potential to be great, but we don't hear a lot about the wide receivers. Is this a thin, productive wide receiver class?
We've been really spoiled with really good wide receiver classes over the past 4 or 5 years, and this class is not that. And I mean, it's as simple as that. We don't have that upper echelon, top 10 type of receiver in this year's draft. I think it's more so of, top 12 to top 15 or even top 20 type guys. That's where you feel comfortable taking a Tedoroa McMillan out of Arizona or even a Matthew Golden out of Texas. But we don't have anything like what we saw in last year's class with Marvin, Neighbors, and then also Odunze. We just don't have those type of guys in this year's draft if you're just grading Travis Hunter strictly as a corner. Now, if you're grading him as a wide receiver, then yes, I believe he's definitely in that type of tier, just because I think he's such a rare talent I mean, he can be a Justin Jefferson impact type of wide receiver. That's how highly I think of Travis. And then he can even go onto the other side of the football and do similar things as well. The player that I compared him to is Champ Bailey when he was coming out of Georgia. That's really the only data point as far as comparable player that played the number of snaps and then also had the type of impact on both sides of the ball like Travis has had. I just think he's a very rare prospect, and that's why I said he's the best player in the draft to me.
Would you rather, Jordan, draft Shedeur Sanders at 2 if you're the Browns, or have Milroe or Jackson Dart late first, early second?
That's a great question. Am I getting Travis Hunter in this scenario?
Yes. Let's say sure. You take Hunter at 2.
Yeah.
That's an important part to add. But yeah, I would rather take that scenario as opposed to taking Shedeur Sanders. And like I said, whenever you're inside of the top 5, that's just such a distinct group of where you don't want to miss any draft prospect or any draft slot. But when you're inside of the top 5, you want to take those difference-making type of guys. And if I can get a Travis Hunter and couple that with a Jalen Milroe or another day 2 or day 3 quarterback, I'm going to take that scenario.
You know, Jordan, talking more about Travis Hunter here, like Tyvis said, he and I are on the same page here. I want them, if they're not going to take a quarterback, I absolutely want it to be Hunter at 2. And I'm of the mindset, let him play both. Obviously not every single play, but if you have an athlete who can be I know it's a different sport, but if they had forced Ohtani not to pitch or not to hit, that's a disappointment. The guy wants to do it. I'm sure he realizes that if he does do it, maybe his career is going to be shorter. But I don't know. If I were him, I'd rather be a legend for 7-8 years than be just a very good player for 10 or 12. Maybe that's easy for me to say, but he wants to do it. If I'm a team, I'm letting him do it. What say you on that?
Yeah, I'm with you. And I mean, your job as a GM and a head coach is to put the best 11 guys on the field. And 10 out of 10 times, Travis Hunter is going to be one of those top 11 guys on both sides of the ball. So as long as his body is able to hold up and he can show you that he's capable of handling it, I think you just let him go out there and you let him do it. And I was talking to a scout a couple of weeks ago about this, and he raised a great point as far as if he's going to be able to play both ways. The speed of the game is quicker in the NFL, but the pace of the game is a little bit slower as far as there's going to be more huddles. The pace of it is a little bit slower. Obviously, he has to adjust to the speed of the game. Guys are bigger, faster, stronger. That's going to be a hurdle that he has to climb. But as far as the plays and the number of plays that are happening within a game, it's going to be a bit slower. So it may be a situation of where he's able to handle it. And not saying he's going to be able to play over 100 NFL snaps down in and down out. I don't think he's going to be able to do that. But if you can sprinkle him in, if you play him full-time as a corner, and then, 20 to 30 plays as a receiver, I definitely think you can do that, but also vice versa as well. If you feel more comfortable with him full-time as a receiver and then sprinkle him in as far as a nickel corner or even an outside corner, I think you just let him roll with it and see if he can handle it.
Jordan, I'm going to talk to you about, as a Browns fan, we are spoiled with third-round picks. Obviously, the Deshaun Watson trade, we haven't been picking early. And we've been missing a lot in the third round, but I know you do a mock draft where you go through all 7th rounds. Who are some third-round gems that you think the Browns can get to be a difference maker, because we've been missing in recent years?
All right, I'm going to throw a question back at you. Just pick a position, and I'll give you some guys.
Okay. Let's try linebacker.
Yeah, so one of them, his name is Demetrius Knight out of South Carolina. He's a bit of an older prospect. He's about 6'3", 230 pounds, but great story. Started off his career at Georgia Tech for the first 3 years of his career, then transferred to UNC Charlotte for a year, and then to South Carolina this past season. And all of you know, South Carolina is loaded with draft prospects on the defensive side of the ball this year. He really was the nucleus. He was in the middle of that explosive defense. And, he was one of the better players overall on that defense. So he's probably somebody who's going to go in the 3rd or the 4th round just because he will be a 25-year-old rookie. But he can run, he can hit, he can cover, he can do everything that you want to do at the position. So Demetrius Knight, linebacker out of South Carolina, is definitely one name to keep an eye on.
And what about D-line in the 3rd round? Because that's another place that I could see the Browns going. If they decide to go Hunter and then a quarterback at 33, they probably address D-line at some point.
Yeah, man. I mean, you can close your eyes and pick guys out of this group. That's how loaded this defensive line class is. But one name I will share with you is Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee. He's a little bit undersized, but he's probably going to have to be what's called a DPR early on in his career, which is just a designated pass rusher. But we've seen those guys go in the third or fourth round and go on to be immediate contributors, whether it's in sub package or late down situations. And that's exactly what he was at Tennessee. He only played in 20 or more snaps in 5 of the 13 games last year. So they treated him as a sub package rusher in the middle, but really explosive, can penetrate the first level, can really muddy up the pocket as well. So Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee is definitely a name to keep an eye on.
Jordan, is the league turning around, in terms of running backs being valued more as opposed to in the past in terms of like where they're drafted? And also, do you have a problem with Ashton Jeanty not running a 40?
Oh, I do not have a problem at all with Ashton Jeanty not running a 40. I mean, you could turn on the tape and you could see him detaching away and running away, having those explosive runs away from defenses. Even though it was in the Mountain West, you can turn on the tape against Oregon, and he dominated in that game. And, every running back in the league, especially the draft prospects that are coming up, they need to send a gift basket to Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and then also Josh Jacobs, because they're going to get a lot of these guys drafted much higher than what we have seen in years past. But this is a really loaded running back class. It's very reminiscent of 2017, which had guys like, at the time, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara. The list goes on and on of that loaded group. So there was 30 running backs drafted in that class. That was the last time that we actually got 30. And I have 32 draftable grades on running backs this year. So we could even surpass that number in this year's class.
That's crazy, Jordan. When you look at the running backs in the second, third, fourth round range, take Jeanty out, take Amari and Hampton out, is there one of those backs that you think fits Kevin Stefanski's offense the best that Cleveland should be targeting somewhere in day 2?
Yeah, one for me, and he's one of my favorite backs outside of that group that you named, is DJ Giddens out of Kansas State. And, I mean, he was everything for them this past season. He can catch out of the backfield. He can run in between the tackles. He's a really good perimeter runner as well. The big question about him was just his long speed, but he ran in the low 4.4s at the combine, so he checked that box as well. I think his vision is really good. He's really good at making those second and third level defenders miss when they're coming downhill and running the alley as well. So DJ Giddens out of Kansas State will probably go late third, early fourth round if I had to guess, but I think he's going to be a steal for somebody.
Jordan, we made graphics for 11 different running back prospects, and DJ Giddens was not one of the 11 I had circled as a possible option. We had
blew it, Mike.
Scatterboo, Sampson, Caleb Johnson, Hampton, Judkins. You got with the one guy I didn't have. But my other question here for you, Jordan, is let's say the Browns do go with Travis Hunter at 2, and then they try to get a quarterback with their second pick. You know how quarterbacks work. There's always a run on quarterbacks. If you think he's a 30 to 40 prospect, he goes in the 20s. If the Browns have to trade back into the first to get the guy they want at quarterback, whether it be Shuck, Milroe, whoever, where do you think they have to get back up to in the first round to be able to get their quarterback of choice?
Well, I think getting ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe they have 21 overall, so trying to get to that 20th overall pick, that's probably where you want to earmark as far as where you have to trade back up into the first round to get, just because the Steelers are definitely a team that is in need of a quarterback no matter what happens with the whole Aaron Rodgers situation, or if they elect to bring in another veteran. They're definitely a team that you circle as somebody that you would like to jump that potentially could take a quarterback in the first round.
Jordan, of these we've talked about these quarterbacks a little bit, but I'm going to ask you to look into your crystal ball here. In 5 years, who will be – I'll exclude Cam Ward, but if you think one of these guys is going to be better than Cam Ward, then so be it. But besides Cam Ward, if you had to bet on the other quarterbacks in this draft, not who's the best right now, but in 5 years or 3 years, something like that, who's going to be the best quarterback in this draft?
Oh, man, it's not a great quarterback class overall, but, if I had to go with one as far as just somebody that I would love to develop personally, it would be Jalen Milroe out of Alabama, just because he has a lot of those physical traits that you can't really teach from the foundation that he already has. Everybody knows that he's a very explosive runner. He's really dynamic, and I think he's going to, as soon as he enters the league, he's going to be in a distinct group as far as explosiveness at the quarterback position, along with Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, and also Justin Fields. He's just that caliber of athlete, but he's just not refined as a passer right now. He struggles a lot in short to intermediate areas, but he's a really good deep passer. So he needs some time to just understand how to see, read, and react to things in the short to if you want to develop him within his rookie year. But it's going to take some time in the short to intermediate areas for him, for things to click for him. But he would be the one that, if I was picking one personally, that I would love to develop, he would be the one.
It's funny you say that, Jordan, because Dustin just said he wouldn't be surprised if they took Milroe, and we all find him fascinating. He talked about, obviously, the athletic ability is through the roof, the arm strength through the roof. By all accounts, what was that award he won for being like the smartest football player?
Walker.
Yeah. Doak Walker. So the guy's obviously intelligent, which leads me to believe he's probably going to be good at picking up offenses and all this stuff. Those are all major positives. You talked about the one negative, his touch, the short to intermediate passes. How teachable, in your opinion, we talked about it a little bit, how teachable is that? Can that get better? Because it seems like if you can fix that and fix his footwork to some degree, that the sky's the limit for him.
I think it is. It's coachable, but it's just something that he has to continue to get reps with. I think it's more so of him just understanding where defenses are going to align, especially a lot of pre-snap stuff. And you see it, the Oklahoma game and the Tennessee games are the two that I point to, of where he really struggled in those areas. I think it's more so of him just understanding of how coverages are trying to attack, and then just those areas of the field of where they're trying to disguise and attack him as well. And, he was oblivious to a lot of those things, and he made some bad decisions in those games as well. So it's more so of just getting reps and then also just understanding how to execute the weak points of those coverages as well.
Just one more quick follow-up. Sorry, Tyvis. Jordan, in terms of the athletic ability of Milroe, we all immediately think of Lamar Jackson. Is it fair to make that comparison? And in just athletic ability, not throwing ability, not any of that stuff, how close is Milroe in terms of his speed, quickness, agility, all that talent level to a Lamar Jackson?
Well, he's not Lamar. Lamar is definitely one-of-one, in my opinion. He's more so along the Justin Fields spectrum. They're very similar runners, that strong, thick body, very dense. They're not really make you miss as far as in the open field type of guys, but they really can zigzag their ways and cut through defenses. You can design quarterback runs, whether it's quarterback power and things of that sort as well. But the LSU game, I thought they did a heck of a job of really game planning some stuff to his strengths from the quarterback design and run standpoint. If there was some package plays that you want to design for him, I definitely would model it after that LSU game.
Jordan, get you out here on this one. Will Howard, what's your thoughts on his game? Where do you see him going in this draft? And could he be a guy that could be a future starter in the NFL at some point?
I think the 4th or the 5th round is probably where Will ends up. He caught fire really late in the college football the back end of the year. He really caught fire, especially in the college football playoff. But big stature guy, 6'5", 250 pounds, really good arm. He's really mobile for his size as well. But there's some things that he definitely has to work on as well. Just seeing coverage more consistently, and then also not compounding the mistakes, especially when things go bad for him. That Michigan game is a great example of that. But when he gets hot, he's somebody that definitely can play. Everybody knows that. So it's just a consistency aspect that he has to work on. But he has the size. He has the requisite traits as well. I definitely think he's going to be a backup early on in his career, but he's also somebody that you would love to develop too.
Last thing, Jordan, before we let you go real quick, I know Tyvis said that was the last one, but I got to get one selfishly for me. Give me what you think. I mean, obviously everybody thinks the Bengals will pick a defensive player at 18 or wherever. I can't remember. I think it's 18 where they're drafting. What do you think? Because they've done a pretty poor job drafting defensive players the last few years. To this point, their last bunch of high picks on defense do not look like good players. So what do you think about what they're going to do in the draft, and where do you think their defense stands right now?
Well, defensive line, they have to find somebody outside of Trey Hendrickson, depending on what happens with this situation, if he's even going to be back. They have to find somebody that can generate pressure on the quarterback. So whether it's a defensive tackle or a defensive end, I definitely think that's where they could go. At 17, I look at somebody like Derek Harmon out of Oregon, Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss, or even some edge guys like a James Pierce Jr. or Mike Green out of Marshall. Those are a lot of names that make sense for them at 17.
Great stuff. Jordan, we'll appreciate it. 23 days to the draft. You excited?
Yeah, I can't wait.
It's going to be a fun day. Thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
There you go. Jordan Reid from ESPN.
Check him out online. Does a great job covering the draft along with all of ESPN's coverage. You can find him on Twitter, and we appreciate Jordan for taking some time to join us today.
I know you had another topic here, Mike, but I think we got to follow up a little more what he said about the Jalen Milroe stuff.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know, because we talked about it already, and, who knows what's going to happen. We do know the Mets, the Browns are.
I sense you're intrigued by Jalen Milroe.
I am, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I like. There's three things that he's really good at. He's got a good arm, a big-time arm. He's a ridiculous athlete, and he's smart. Like, that is a good basis to which to work from.
By the way, I think he's a better athlete than Justin Fields.
Right, he's more like Lamar than.
Yeah, he's more like I think that honestly you could use him as a running back.
I was about to say he's more built than all of those guys.
What's his height and weight, Mike?
Milroe?
6'2", 2 something.
6'1".
Yeah. I mean, what is Justin Fields? I mean, he's pretty thin.
Like 6'1", 1 or probably maybe 200.
Milroe's listed at 6'2", 225.
Yeah.
Okay.
Justin Fields.
He's like 6'1".
He like
right?
is listed at 6'3", 230.
Yeah, he's
6'3", 230.
Yeah, he's 6'3".
No.
I'm just.
Yeah.
No,
Don't
sorry.
look at me. I'm just
not
reading the
trying to
ESPN
kill the
profile.
messenger.
Yeah. So you guys think Milroe's more put together?
I think he's more of a runner. Like I don't think that Justin Fields is looking to run. I think he can. I think he can run.
He had to
and he's
in
a
Chicago.
capable runner.
Yeah.
But Jalen Milroe, I believe, if you have him as your quarterback, is going to carry the football 15 times a game.
I think
At least.
let's face it. Whenever there's a quarterback who's a great athlete now, your dream is that he can become Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson, way more accomplished than Jalen Milroe coming out of college. Fair to say?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So,
Played a lot more.
and even
he won the Heisman.
right.
Yeah.
And even with that, Lamar was doubted by a lot of the football brethren to the point where he went 32nd when he should have gone either first or second in that draft.
It was the old school people, and
Yes.
it was mostly Bill Polian, let's be honest.
Yes,
but there were people
But he wasn't the only one. He was just most public about it.
Yeah, I would
And-
agree with you.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: the game's changed, man.
Oh, yeah.
If you've got a quarterback that is a capable thrower but also a dynamic runner,
Yeah.
dude. And Cosell talked about this, and Tyvus, from playing against quarterbacks like this, defensively, your coordinator's like he can't sleep because of that guy. Like you never know. On every play, that guy could go the distance. He could hand it off. He could throw it. He could run it himself. Like there's a million things the guy could do.
It just changes the way a defense
100%.
has to play you.
100%.
I'll give you an example. When I was in Seattle, my rookie year, we played Carolina with Cam Newton.
Right.
And literally, they had us go over how to properly play like the read option because they do the read and then they'll pull it. So what happened is we ran predominantly cover 3. Well, now what you got to do is that offensive tackle, you got to slam down on the running back every time. That dude that's the buzz player, you got to sink in a little bit to be able to take that quarterback if he take off, and then you got that linebacker that's got to scrape over the top. All of this has to happen. Oh, by the way, if he play action, you're still responsible for your zones. So to me, it puts a lot of stress on other things that's going on the defense to where if it's just a regular quarterback that's not a runner, you don't have to worry about those things. Now, the guy has to be able to make the passes and all of those things, which is something that Milroe has to clean up. But the craziest thing about it is the hardest ball to throw is his best ball, and it's the deep ball. He throws it very accurately, which makes no sense to me that he can do that.
It's weird. Because McShay had this on his podcast about Milroe.
Yeah.
They said Milroe is such a physical specimen. Like if you see him in the gym, he's the strongest dude in the weight room. They say he's too big. He's too jacked, and they suggested that he may need to stop lifting weights essentially to be able to put some touch on the throws. Because
They're saying that's affecting him negatively from a throwing standpoint?
I'm saying this is what they said.
You guys buying that?
No. Is there any plus? Is that a real thing? Like I had never heard someone say that about a
quarterback
before.
be too jacked up?
I don't
know. I mean, like we go back to Brady Quinn, right? And people were like, "This guy's too yoked out, man. He's doing these commercials. He couldn't throw. He couldn't no touch. All this stuff." I'm just trying to think, guys. Can you think of a quarterback that is yoked out that's been like very accurate?
Will Levis had the same concern.
I was going to say Will Levis is another one. Good pull there, Mikey.
He stinks.
Well, that's
So
what scares
far.
you. That's
So far.
I'm not saying it can't be overcome. Just
Yeah.
something to throw into the equation.
I will say, and maybe I'm wrong. I feel like for Jalen Milroe, they wouldn't have to trade up into the. I can't see him getting drafted in that late first round. He's not a Steeler type of
Big
quarterback.
Ben yoked out.
Yoked out?
Yeah, Ben Roethlisberger.
No, he was fat,
No.
wasn't he?
He was not. He was fat.
Was Josh Allen yoked out?
No,
Not really.
no.
Not really.
Cam Newton kind of was.
Yeah.
Cam-
Cam's a
But
Yeah.
Cam's
a low one.
yeah, but Cam's 6'5", 250,
He's a
right?
low
But he
one.
also didn't have a great touch. Like that was.
That's true.
He threw a good deep ball.
That's true.
Didn't have a lot of.
And maybe it's going to be hard to fix that.
I'm really trying
Here's
to-
the thing, though. If you draft Jalen Milroe in the second round, or even let's say the third round, whatever, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work
preclude you
out.
from getting a quarterback
Expectations are
next
so
year.
That's right. That's right. But
Donovan McNabb yoked out.
I was in the locker room.
nah, I don't think so. Oh yeah, you were in the locker room with him. That's right.
Go ahead.
pipes, though,
I got to
but
think
he-
about
he had a
this.
thick
I got to
neck
think about this.
I mean, when you think of the great quarterbacks, you don't think of guys being jacked.
No, no,
I
you
mean,
don't.
it's just not at that position. you
Tim
know?
Tebow couldn't throw.
No, he was jacked.
He was jacked.
He still
He's
is.
jacked, still is. Really
But doesn't
jacked,
Jalen Hurts like squat after every game and all those stuff? He lived.
Jalen Hurts is I'm telling you, a freak of nature athlete.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts throws a good deep ball and has gotten better at throwing underneath passes, but that is certainly not a strength of his.
I think Jalen Hurts has been the most overly criticized quarterback. I know
I'm not saying
had
he's
his
bad. I'm
struggles
just
at
saying
times.
that's not the strength of his game.
But-
If they're going to draft, they better 1,000% take Travis Hunter at 2. If that's the case, they're going to take him because now
Oh, yeah.
you need the difference. What makes Jalen Hurts work is that he's got Devontae Smith
Well,
and AJ Brown.
Well, and Saquon Barkley. And think
And
about
that
this.
too.
Think about this. This running back draft is deep. So, in theory, you draft Travis Hunter at 2, you take Jalen Milroe at 33, and then you take the best running back you got left on the board at 6.
Scatterboo.
Maybe Scatterboo. There's a lot of good running backs in this draft.
What happened to the
You'll
dude-
get a good running back at the top of the third
What
round.
happened to that kid from Tennessee?
Sampson?
Yeah, Sam. Where does he? I don't hear him at
He's
all.
being projected in the same cat. It doesn't fit what the Browns want to do, is why it doesn't seem like he's mocked to the Cleveland Browns in all these scenarios. But we
No,
made
but-
graphics for 11 different running backs. And
By the
I
way-
can't believe he pulled DJ Giddens, who's the one we didn't make.
By the way, Mike,
I want to see his tape.
first round mock drafts are barely, like meaningful. Third round mock drafts are
I'm just-
zero
I'm just-
meaningful.
I'm just acknowledging
Do
the
you
fact that they
know?
exist.
Do you know? I did some digging. I went back and looked at like the experts' projections for the Browns in 2020 and 21, back when they had their.
Yeah.
Nobody got it right. Nobody got
No
what
one
the
ever gets it right.
Yeah.
No,
hard.
but it's like no, they get some people's right, but it's like particularly with the Browns, like they
Yeah.
really don't give out the information. Like you really
The
have
Browns
no
are
idea.
good at being
Well, hold on.
tight-lipped.
That was the next topic. So we got 3 minutes before
Yeah.
our next game. We'll do it real quick. But the question I asked was, do you think Stefanski Berry, the front office, enjoys the fact that nobody has any clue which direction they're leaning less than a month out, 3.5 weeks out now from the draft?
I don't think they care.
Yeah, and also we do have a clue.
We have a clue.
No, listen. The pick is 4 players. It can only be 4 players. It's either Cam Ward, Shador Sanders, Abdul Carter, or Travis Hunter. That's it.
I guess if it ends up not
That is
being one of
it.
those 4, then we
We'd
then
be
we-
all
yeah.
like,
Then
what?
We'd be surprised.
Tyler Warren.
I mean, most teams are looking at like 35 guys right now.
Right. I mean, I don't think it's that big a
Will
mystery.
Campbell,
I don't
offensive
think
tackle LSU.
Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry are very good at keeping things close to the vest. They're not big talkers. They're savvy with their conversation and how they present things. But I don't think they're actively like, yeah, we got them all fooled. I don't think they care about that.
Yeah, who cares, man? Like, why would you worry about what people think
No,
about
I don't.
your draft plan?
Right. I don't think they give a crap about that.
Well, they care what Miles thought.
Nah, they really didn't. Miles just said that
Miles-
because he didn't want to look bad for going back on his word.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Miles doing what he did made them even contemplate their plan at any point?
No.
You think no matter what happened, what Miles said, none of that mattered. They
No.
was going, whatever they presented to Miles is still what you think they're going to go through with.
Yeah, they're not. I mean,
Do you think that's the
I
truth
don't
they
buy
came-
that they really presented anything serious to Myles Garrett.
They had to know something.
Myles Garrett took the money, which fine. He said he wasn't. He didn't care about the money. He wanted to win. In the end,
It
they
changed-
told him they weren't going to
listen,
trade him.
it's
He had no
almighty
choice, so he took the money.
the narrative to help him look better.
Yeah, that's
dude.
right. That's it.
Right, at
They
the
didn't
end
tell
of
him
the day-
stuff. He doesn't know who the quarterback's going to be. It doesn't matter. He got paid. He don't care at this point.
He should care.
I shouldn't say he doesn't care. Obviously, he wants to win.
Exactly.
But he cared. He ultimately knew they weren't going to trade him. What choice did he have? He might as well take the money.
What if they told him, hey, Miles?
Right.
Well, I just read this thing that said that Pittsburgh is probably going to sign him.
Who knows?
Who is Art Rooney?
He's the owner.
He's the owner, man.
Oh, well, he came out and said that things are progressing.
I was listening to NFL radio the other day, and they were suggesting it is weird that Aaron Rodgers, what is Aaron Rodgers waiting for?
He's a you-know-what, which is why he's just dragging this out to stay in the
I know it's weird because you'd think the Steelers would be a great fit for him.
It is.
They've got two great wide receivers.
He know it.
They got a pretty good team.
It's his best chance.
If they're going to have any chance, like he said, he wants to. Apparently, he wants to go to Minnesota. I don't know that Minnesota's roster is any better than Pittsburgh's. I know the NFC is weaker, but it's just But he's weird, So what are you going to do? If I were him, I'd sign. But I heard somebody suggest that he might just wait it out till training camp and see if a quarterback on another team gets hurt. Go ahead, Mike.
We got our next guest ready to join us here. We're going to pivot, talk a little Cavs after a quick word from Fanduel. March Madness is here, guys. The Final Four is this weekend, and Fanduel is giving you a chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. That is $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. You can even bet on who's going to cut down the nets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in one of the hosts of The Big Number, a Yahoo Sports NBA insider. It is Tom Haberstroh. Tom, how you doing today?
What's going on, everybody?
Tom, how are you, man? We appreciate it. Are
great.
you like us? I mean, you're a big basketball guy, obviously. Me personally, basketball's not my biggest sport. These guys are more into basketball than I am. So right now, I'm like, I've had enough of the regular season. Mm-hmm. I don't care about these last 7 games for the Cavs. I'm locked in for the playoffs. I can't wait for the playoffs. I'm all in. But I'm afraid somebody's going to get hurt. I just don't. I want these games to be over. Do you find that annoying as a diehard basketball guy, or do you understand?
I've been long proponent of trying to shorten the season from 82 games to 58. So Beautiful. The idea is you play every team twice, one at home, one and away. So you have 29 opponents. You basically shorten the season and you shorten the number of DNP rest games that you see a lot of these stars, including the Cavs, who are strategically resting their guys throughout the second half of the season. This is not what the NBA wants. They do not want teams to be resting their stars, big name players in these marquee matchups, but it's smart business when you talk about all of the legacies of these players, of Kenny Atkinson, of DeAndre Hunter, the newcomer for the Cleveland Cavaliers. You got Evan Mobley, who's trying to ascend into superstardom, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Jared Allen. They're all chasing the same thing, is a championship, to prove that they are not just their regular season record, that they can perform in the postseason, and that means they got to be healthy. And so they are one of the healthiest teams this season, and they want to continue that. And unfortunately, I think the NBA is still far away from seriously considering lopping off significant chunks of the season, because I think that's what's better for the product. I think it's better for the national conversation, and I don't think we need back-to-backs anymore in the year 2025. Definitely. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers would also welcome that, considering how much they've strategically rested guys on those second night of back-to-backs.
Tom, has the Cavs answered the physicality question for you, or is that still something that you worry about in the postseason?
I think they've answered just about every question they've had from me. I mean, when you're outscoring opponents by 10 points per game this season, that is up there with the greatest teams of all time. Like, bar none. That's one of the top point differentials in the NBA, and you don't get there without being physical. And yes, in the postseason, it's going to get more physical, but they don't have free throw merchants, guys who are going to have to go into the paint to get their foul calls or be efficient. This offense is predicated on motion, on passing, and getting open shots. It's largely the same as the Boston Celtics last season, where they had 5 excellent three-point shooters around Jared Allen, 4 excellent three-point shooters around Jared Allen, and making sure that Evan Mobley can switch to the 5 like Kristaps Porzingis and play big. They've done that largely this season. And yes, you can look at that roster and say you don't have a bruiser, a bully on that roster. But I don't think people were saying the same thing about the Boston Celtics last year, and they won the NBA championship. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they're physical, but I wouldn't say that they're any more so than the Cleveland Cavaliers guys who really want to win this championship this year. They just got to prove it in the postseason.
Tom, let's assume that the Cavaliers make it to the NBA Finals. If they get there, this is for a hypothetical question, which could be it's a real question. I think they got a chance. Obviously,
Okay.
I mean they're a damn good basketball team. If they make it to the finals, would they be the favorite?
No, in my book, it's OKC. This team, I just talked about point differential. Their point differential, the margin by which they outscore the opponents every single night, is the largest point margin in NBA history.
Wow.
Okay? I'm going to repeat that.
That's
the
crazy.
Oklahoma City Thunder are beating teams so badly this season that their average point differential is the largest that we've ever seen in the NBA. The Thunder are a machine. They are a team that's rallied around Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who has scored at least 20 points in 68 straight games, guys. This is as close as to a metronome as we've seen since Tim Duncan, where every time he goes out there, you know that you're going to get 30 points a night, and a professionalism, a defense. He has the second most steals in the NBA, and everyone around them rallies and they play so hard defensively, by far the best defense in the NBA. So if you're looking at a team that has a chance to just run the table this year, I don't think it's Boston. I don't think it's Cleveland. I think it's OKC, and that's no shame in it, but Cleveland certainly has their hands full with both Boston and OKC this year.
If you had to bet right now where the Cavs season ends, whether it's losing in the second round, losing the Eastern Conference Finals, losing in the finals, or winning it all, you had to bet the most likely scenario is what for you?
NBA Finals. That's for me. When you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Kristaps Porzingis injury question that continues to linger this season, we don't know how healthy he's going to be for the postseason. He's played, just about half the season, and when you look at that injury concern, for me, I can't bank on the fact that the Boston Celtics are going to have their big five for the entirety of the postseason. And then you throw in the fact that Evan Mobley has made the leap, and Kenny Atkinson, not enough is being made about the turnaround that you've seen from this Cleveland Cavaliers team. Last year, they were 18th in offensive rating once you adjust for opponent. This year, their offensive rating is 121, number one in the entire league, the best offense in the league, and their defense is still right around top 10. So they are elite on both ends of the floor. And for me, the Boston Celtics with that injury concern is the biggest reason why I feel a little bit more confident. I'm not saying it's going to be over in 5 games or 6 games. I think it's going to go the full 7 when Cleveland has the home court advantage in that matchup against Boston. I do think that Cleveland right now has the slight edge because of Porzingis, but man, that's going to be an all-time great Eastern Conference series if we get it.
Wow.
Tom, real quick before I ask my serious question, what's the number 14 jersey behind you?
Oh, this is my guy, Muggsy Bogues. This is the guy. I've shared the same birthday with Muggsy. I went to the same college as Muggsy. I'm a little bit taller than Muggsy, but that's my favorite, the most unlikely NBA story. Maybe the sports story is 5'3" and having a long NBA career in a game full of Giants. I love that dude.
Well, I'm glad it's not your jersey because this show's only big enough for one guy who loves basketball that wore number 14 and has an Emmy in their shot behind them. So if you had 14,
God, Mike.
He has lost his mind.
we got one too here, Tom. My serious question though, Tom, is when you look at the Cavs, you mentioned it earlier, OKC, Boston, Cleveland. Those are the 3 teams with the best chance to win a title. When you look at Cleveland, we know the strengths. In your opinion, what is their potential downfall when it comes to winning it all? What's their weakness when you look at them as an overall team in terms of contending for an NBA title this season?
Yeah, I think it was a Channing Frye on Oddball. He was given the proposal from Amin El Hassan, was like, hey, your Cleveland Cavaliers championship team or this one, if they played right now. And Amin was of the opinion that this team right now would win in that series. And Channing Frye lost his mind. And he was like, no, they don't have any bullies. And you talked about the physicality. We know Donovan Mitchell. He is as good of a scorer and leaper and finisher that we have in the league. But who's going to take over down the stretch? We know that Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell both have elite scoring rates, top 10, both of them in clutch performance this year, clutch scoring rate. But I do think that it's going to be a little bit of who's going to take over. Is it Evan Mobley, who's continued this ascension this season, or is it going to be Darius Garland? It might even be DeAndre Hunter at times. You look at that 5-man DeAndre Hunter, who got acquired at the deadline in that trade with Atlanta. When he's on the floor with the core four, meaning Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, and Evan Mobley, when that 5-man lineup is on the floor, they've outscored opponents by 37 points every 100 possessions, which is absurd. That's absurd. But the weird thing is, guys, Kenny Atkinson has preferred to have DeAndre Hunter coming off the bench lately. They've only played 7 times since he was traded. That 5-man unit has only played 7 games this season in the second half of the season, which is far fewer than I thought they would have. So if there is a weakness, I guess it's trying to figure out, is it Max Strus in the starting lineup who has a lot more three-point volume? Is it DeAndre Hunter, who in my opinion is a much bigger player, much stronger player and better defender? Or is it someone like Isaiah Okoro, Dean Wade, who is that 5th-man lineup? But I do think that that's kind of small potatoes. If you're trying to figure out who is the best 5th piece next to your core 4, I think that's a good problem to have. In my opinion, I think a lot of the postseason is going to rest on DeAndre Hunter playing the 4 and Evan Mobley at the 5. I think in some ways, when they go small with that lineup, that might be their best lineup going forward, but they certainly are going to need Jared Allen for big stretches in the postseason to make sure to keep the opposing guys off the board and also playing great rim protection. They have a lot of different looks, and I kind of think that's a strength, not a weakness.
Tom, speaking of big stretches, you're talking about Ty Jerome. You know, obviously he's missing some games right now because he's dealing with an ankle injury. But when you look at him in the postseason, obviously this regular season he's been magnificent. Is this something that you think he has longevity of? Well, we'll see this in the postseason. Does he come off as the type of guy that can have that impact?
I love Ty Jerome, man.
Yeah,
I love that. A lot of people do. Oh my God, you don't?
Oh, I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, I thought you were like, I know a lot of people do. Man,
I'm sick of hearing about him.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm upset at the NBA for not allowing this dude to be qualified for most improved player because he's my most improved player of the year. Like, that's my guy. Like, that, I love watching him play. He's basically 50, 40, 90 shooting percentages on the floor. He's a bucket getter. I think he's got something like 15 games with scoring at least 20 points. A lot of times, like I cover the Blazers on their broadcast as their analytics insider, and multiple times this season against the Blazers, he's cooked them. Absolute straight up cooked the Blazers. And that was, he's coming into a team that already has like 4 All-Stars on it. And oftentimes he's the best player on the floor. And the reason why he's not qualified is because of this minutes restriction that you need to have in order to qualify for award games. So you need to play at least 20 minutes in a game for it to count as an end of season award game. And that, to me, it shortchanges a lot of these guys like Ty Jerome, who are playing 20, 25 minutes a night, 30 minutes sometimes, but aren't qualified because they didn't meet that 20-minute threshold. To me, what he has done after last season being injured and coming into this season and being a really good offensive threat and a capable defender, he was maybe out of the league this time last year. Like, he was on the fringe of making an NBA roster, and now he is a core piece of this Cleveland Cavaliers team, and I suspect that'll continue in the postseason. I love the way he plays.
Tom, I got a real quick Ty Jerome story for you, but Ty does that little deceleration step when he drives. It's the slow Euro step, right? And last year, the Cavs did not utilize that move at all. This year, they're all doing it. Mobley, Donovan, Darius. I asked Ty, hey, how did that kind of spread across the locker room? And Ty said, I taught the guys that. Kenny Atkinson hates when anyone but Ty Jerome does that because he says everyone else is too athletic. They shouldn't have to slow down to be able to finish over guys. Ty's the only guy he likes doing it because he doesn't have the athleticism that the other guys have. So Ty Jerome has changed not just the 6th man of the year conversation, but how the entire Cavaliers team attacks the rim.
And I'll say this, Kenny Atkinson's brilliant, but he's got to understand that breaks are athleticism too. Like, you look at Luka Doncic, Anthony Edwards, James Harden, the way they speed up and slow down. Chris Paul does this too at an elite level when he was in his prime. That decel that you're talking about is an elite trait in today's NBA. And I think Kenny was probably half joking when he said that, but that is an elite skill, and I'm so glad that he's able to teach the other players, because once you add that to your game, you're going to create a lot more space at the rim, and that's impressive. I love that he's the teacher on the squad.
Tom, there are some fans here in Cleveland that are maybe a little nervous about facing potentially JB Bickerstaff in the postseason with the Pistons. Would that worry you at all?
I think there's just too much talent on the Cleveland side. Cade Cunningham's hurt right now. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch as they approach the postseason. I do think that this Kenny Atkinson offense is on another level. And no disrespect to JB Bickerstaff, he might win Coach of the Year this year if the Pistons continue this. I think it's Kenny Atkinson's award. But offensively, the way that Evan Mobley has been unlocked as a ball handler, as an attacker in transition, I just think JB Bickerstaff, there's not many guys on that roster on the Detroit side that can guard Evan Mobley consistently. And so that's one of the big things. The reason why I think Kenny Atkinson deserves that award is the way that he's taken a guy who looked like a lot of times as a project last season and before, and turned him into a self-actualized star in today's NBA. And so the three-point shooting, the playmaking, the ball handling, all of this has taken a major leap under Kenny Atkinson. And yeah, the Pistons might win a game or two, but I think the Cavs would win soundly in that series.
Tom, the truth is, I mean, you can't blame the fans here for expecting things to go bad, because often they do in Cleveland. But our fans are just being overly paranoid here. Everybody in Cleveland wanted JB Bickerstaff out of here. We got the coach who's doing a great job, and now we're going to be worried about JB Bickerstaff. The Cavs are going to kick their ass if they play him. Come on now. This is just silly. It's just our fans being paranoid. The one thing I do want to ask, though, is obviously Donovan Mitchell's had a great season overall, but he's been in a big-time shooting slump, especially from three of late. What do you make of that? Is it just these are the ebbs and flows of a season, or is there anything more to it?
Yeah, Jokic, the guy who's like the best player on the planet, is also in a shooting slump. If it can happen to that dude, it can happen to anybody. And so, yeah, it is the ebb and flow of the season. And I would be concerned if they didn't have Max Strus, if they didn't have Darius Garland, if they didn't have Evan Mobley. All of these guys are capable three-point shooters. In case he goes through a slump like that. Last year, maybe that was a death blow. But for this team, the way that they've created all of these weapons from downtown and inside, Mitchell could have a cold shooting slump for a month, and it might not matter. Of course, in the postseason, you don't want that to happen, but I do think that Donovan Mitchell, even if this is something that is a little bit more sticky, the rest of the team is so capable from picking up the slack.
Tom, let me zoom out of Cleveland a little bit and go to the Western Conference. The Lakers, obviously they made the big trade for Luka Doncic. Is that trade going to help them get to the finals? Can that trade alone help them beat the Nuggets and or OKC?
Cavs versus LeBron.
I know.
We all want to see it. Must see TV.
Man, that would be insane. It would be an incredible. I did a game last night where it was for the NBA's strategy stream. I was on for the Kings-Pacers game last night, and the producer asked me, would the Cavs-Lakers be the juiciest finals matchup? And I had to think about this because I was thinking, on one hand it is because of all the history between Cleveland and LeBron, of course. But I also think Boston and Lakers would be even juicier because you have Luka Doncic losing to Boston in the NBA Finals, joining the Lakers, and then you have that classic Lakers-Celtics final on the other side. Either way, whether it's Cleveland or it's Boston going against the Lakers, that's like, for me, picking between which is my favorite daughter. I can't pick one. It's an incredible, juicy matchup no matter where you look at it. And I don't know how I would feel if I was a Cavs fan and the Lakers with LeBron beat the Cavs. Would that change the way you looked at 2016 or no? Like, I'm asking you guys.
No, I don't think I wouldn't. It wouldn't change. It would be obviously a huge bummer, but no, I don't think it would change. Would it change for you guys, 2016, if LeBron beat the Cavs?
No. 2016 will be near and dear to everybody's. Yeah. It was the first championship that I ever witnessed in Cleveland in my life.
I bet you won a championship.
Do you think LeBron wants
when I was
to
in
face
Columbus, though?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Tom, you think LeBron wants to play the Cavs? Like, would that be an uncomfortable spot for him?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. I covered LeBron when I was in Miami from 2010 to 2014 when he left. And that was my first my first big break was covering LeBron James in Miami, and he is not comfortable being the villain. He's never been comfortable being the villain. If you guys remember that first year, the way y'all treated him at back home,
burn his jersey.
Yeah, that was the least of it. If you saw some of the posters there in your arena greeting him when he came to Cleveland, and that sort of thing did not sit well with LeBron. He is someone that I think relishes in being a positive figure or being like, as you know, when he was doing those class pictures, kind of class clown in his first stint with Cleveland, he likes that kind of positivity, hero role rather than the villain. So walking into that arena in Cleveland and getting potentially, I don't think you guys would boo him. That's the weird thing.
They would boo. They would.
You don't think so?
He just showed up to a game last year.
Yeah, but if it was for the championship, I don't know. It's a good question.
They're not going to boo him.
That's actually a great question.
It's a good question. Some people would. I think some people would boo him. Yeah.
I mean, if they,
but not overwhelmingly.
I think it would affect him. I think it would affect him in a way that
I changed my answer. They will boo him.
Yeah, if it's the NBA Finals and they beat the Boston Celtics to get there, I think you guys are going to feel extremely confident. You're going to be feeling yourselves, and booing LeBron James, who helped you win the 2016 NBA championship, that would feel like something where it's like, you might have left us, but we're here. We're back without you. And that's going to be such a big thing for emotionally, you guys having that kind of we haven't even gotten there yet, but the idea of winning without LeBron James is something that I think every fan base has to experience at least once, is realizing, you have that imposter syndrome where it's like in life, you guys are sitting there, you're probably like, man, am I that talented? Or is it the group that I'm with? And I know it's a yes for both of you. You guys are that individually talented, and you're better in this group that you have here, of course. But for the Cavs, feeling like that 2016 championship, kind of feel like you have that chip on your shoulder to prove that it's not. We don't need LeBron to be a great NBA pro franchise, and that's going to be interesting to see.
Tom, it would come full circle, because if you remember in the locker room when they played Golden State and they were coming back, and he says they're messed up mentally, y'all. They are messed up, right?
Yeah, and if LeBron
gets booed, that's what the Cavs. He's messed up mentally, y'all.
That's true.
So it'd be kind of a full circle moment.
Tom, real quick before you go, just between us, who is your favorite daughter, by the way? You want to be honest about that?
I'm going to go with my dog, Piper. That is my third daughter. So that is a diplomatic answer. I'll go with the dog.
Way to go. Thanks, Tom. We appreciate the time, man.
Thank you, Tom.
That was Tom Haberstroh.
Yeah,
check him out at Yahoo. Listen to The Big Number. Him and Dan Devine, who we've had on the show before, do a great job covering the NBA.
He's very high on the Cavs.
Yes.
Yeah, he is.
Tom's good.
Very high. That's good stuff. Sometimes you think like, oh, we biased, or we like the Cavs too much. Here's a national guy saying, I expect the Cavs to go to the finals.
Well, hey, Mikey, you're like these guys. I mean, all these guys that cover from a national perspective, for the most part, I feel like are like kind of, don't take us the wrong way, kind of nerdy.
You're talking about the media.
Like analytics based. You know what I mean, looking at the way these teams play, efficiency numbers, all these like stats that matter.
Media guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Tom's one of those guys, and the analytics community loves the Cavaliers. And the way their brand of basketball, how they play, people love.
You know who else love analytics?
Who's that?
The Cleveland Browns.
Oh, is that a transition?
Every team loves analytics. You know who doesn't like it? Jay Crawford.
He doesn't like much of anything.
No.
The analytics for the Cavs this season have been terrific. He mentioned the Thunder with their record differential, net rating, and point differential. It is on course to be two of the, if it matches out OKC, Cleveland in the finals, to the historically speaking, by the numbers, to the best teams we've ever seen.
Jay
in the
doesn't
league.
hate analytics.
Let's talk a little guards, guys. Before we do that, if you want more UCSS content, make sure you follow us on social media. We have a TikTok account now. Those are our handles on Twitter/X, Instagram, and Twitter. And TikTok. If you want them to be part of the newsletter, just text newsletter to 216-435-1990 to get signed up for that. You could also text us to get daily show updates in the morning. If you're not and want to get more UCSS content, there are plenty of ways to find us, even when we are not on from 11 to 1. Bo, the Guardians lost last night in the series opener against the Padres. Luis Ortiz a bit of a disappointing debut for Cleveland.
He was awful.
All right, you go.
Call a spade a spade.
Yeah, I tell you, I couldn't even make it through the whole game. I was so tired. I was literally at one point in the middle of this game, I'm sitting on my couch watching the game. And you know me, I can watch baseball all the time. But I'm like, at one point I was kind of holding my eyes open. I was so tired. They were playing like crap. They were so tired. I was like holding my eyes open because I'm falling asleep. I'm sitting on the couch watching this game. I don't even know what time it was, 12:15 or I don't know what it was. And eventually I gave up because obviously it was very clear that the Guardians were not going to win this game. It's interesting, you know, Ortiz was the big part of the Andres Jimenez trade. You remember back in the winter, it was a 3-team trade that Jimenez went to the Blue Jays and the Guardians got some minor leaguers and Ortiz from the Pirates. And Ortiz didn't have much of a track record, but he had pitched really well for the Pirates the second half of last year. Now, one thing about that is the Pirates were not in contention, and there's, you know, no pressure playing for Pittsburgh. There's nobody at the games, and he pitched very well. Well, since the Guardians got him, he was terrible in spring training, and I don't put too much stock into spring training, but I do a little more with younger players because older players in spring training, I don't care if they suck because they're experimenting, they're working on things, it's irrelevant. But for a young player who's really just establishing himself, I pay a little more attention to what they do in spring training. And Luis Ortiz was consistently getting smoked in spring training. Then the season starts, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what to expect from him because I liked what I saw from him at the end of the last year, but I didn't like how he was throwing in spring training. And this was obviously a terrible start. I believe he allowed 11 base runners.
4 walks. Steve, go back to
was it 7 hits?
I believe that's what it was, yeah.
I mean, there was
9 hits,
13 base runners, even worse.
Sheesh.
13 base runners in 4 2/3. I mean, that is horrible. So he wasn't missing any bats. There was traffic all over the bases. Again, it's one start. I don't want to get carried away, but it obviously people seeing Andres Jimenez has 3 home runs so far. That can clean up for the Blue Jays. And again, I don't have a problem with that. They traded Jimenez, but he's off to a good start. Again, it's only a couple days. Ortiz gets, boat raced in his first start.
How's Josh Naylor doing?
I don't think he has any home runs, but he was
had
good.
An RBI double yesterday. I saw that.
2 days ago. On Sunday, they were playing the Cubs. The Cubs had a big lead, and the Diamondbacks rallied with like 6 in the 8th, and he had a big double in that inning. That's what you're talking about. Arizona didn't play yesterday. They were off.
Hey,
whenever I saw it,
you think that was a balk last night? Well, I actually stayed and watched that game last night. They had a chance, and it was the 6th or 7th.
Yeah.
And they had 2 on, no outs.
Bull was
I think I might have missed that play.
I'm sorry. It was
No.
It was kind of like the play of the game.
I read about it after.
My bad.
No, it's fine.
I
was watching the whole game too, but as I said before, I was falling asleep during the last couple of innings.
Dude, it was like 10:30 at night, dude. It's all good.
But so I didn't see that play. I read about it, but I didn't see it. No, that's fine. I didn't see it, so I should have gone back and watched it.
All right. So what happened was runners on.
Yeah.
Was the 6th inning? I think it was. They were down.
It's about the time I was falling
They were
asleep.
down 2 runs.
Yeah.
It was 4-2.
Right.
And they were down, and they 2 on, no outs.
Yeah.
And there was what Rick Manning thought was a
Right,
balk.
and they didn't call it.
They didn't call it, and so they got the runner out at second,
Right.
and then the other runner, I forget who it was, held up the third baseman.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have touched the guy. He wouldn't. So they called him out for interference. So there was 2 outs, and then next I forget who came up, and they got a single, and he would have had 2 runs.
I want to see if I can watch it on the MLB app.
I'm sure you can.
I meant to.
The good news was seeing Jose hit a home run.
He was was he 3 for 4 last night?
I thought the wrist thing was going to be serious.
Yeah.
He was 3 for 4.
That was a
3 for
major
3.
positive. His first at bat is a home run.
Yeah. So was Hedges, wasn't it?
Yeah, Anthony's off to 1 home run this season.
Yeah. Didn't I say Hedges was going to hit over the number?
What was it, 2.5? Or was
I think Bull went with 4.
Austin Hedges. I feel like he always kind of hits a home run. Nah, it's not on the highlights. I'm going to have to find it to see it. Like I said, I was in and out in the middle of the game fighting to stay awake, and I think I missed it, and I should have gone back and watched it. But I didn't read about it until after the game, and then I didn't go back and watch it, so I'll have to watch it later to see if it was.
Who's on the mound? Who's on the mound today?
It's Logan Allen versus Michael King today.
Right, which is a major advantage for the Padres. Michael King, who obviously got smoked in his first start.
Will Logan Allen do better than Ortiz?
It's kind of hard to do worse.
Why are we
than 13.
showing Logan Allen's stats from last year and Michael King's from just one start this year?
Because he had one start this year. And
It's an
Logan
odd
Allen made a
choice.
Start. We made the choice. I like the choice. I support Earl in that choice.
Michael King.
Michael King's a very good pitcher.
But it's
though.
misleading because Michael King had a great year last year.
Well, when Logan Allen has one game, we'll put one game versus one game.
One game stats are meaningless.
Austin Hedges has 100% home run rate in games he's played this season. So
That's
you tell
true.
me there's a
That's
meaningless
true.
stat
He is on pace,
for like 60 home runs.
potentially, if he plays 60 games. Yeah. I didn't like the fact that Kyle Manzardo wasn't in the lineup last night. I don't understand why they did that. When you guys off to his hottest start. What's that?
He'll be in there today.
Well, and by the way, he needs to play first base today. Give Carlos Santana a day off. Let the kid play first base, for crying out loud, Stephen Vogt.
Yeah, what is up with that? Have we gotten any clarity? Is he not a good defender? Like objectively bad? Is that?
It's very rare that a young player is a bad defender.
That's what I'm saying. It makes
Unless
no
he's
sense.
like built like Kyle Schwarber, who, is just looks like more of a football player. I mean, Kyle Manzardo looks like a normal baseball player. There's no I don't remember how good he was in the minors. I'm sure he's at least adequate. Let him play a little first base. He's going to be the everyday first baseman next year. So I think he should. But anyway, the game wasn't worth watching much once the Pirates tacked on those runs. Padres tacked on those runs, and it was 7-1 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
so.
and it was 7-2.
Yeah, so it's a bad game. You flush it. You move on to the next one.
So what are you looking for tonight, Bull?
What for tonight?
What are you looking for tonight? Hopefully the Guardians can rebound. The Padres are 5-0, by the way.
Who's on the bump tonight?
Logan Allen.
Logan
Allen.
Allen. Yeah, I mean, I don't have high hopes for this start because
No
I'm not a big
chance.
fan of Logan Allen,
No chance.
and I really like Michael King. Hopefully tonight, after falling asleep during the game last night, I'll be able to stay up through the whole game tonight. But hopefully the Guardians will make it worth watching. I want to see Kyle Manzardo will be back in the lineup tonight. We'll see Nolan Jones in the lineup tonight. King's a righty. But that was disappointing because Kyle Hart, I thought they could take advantage of him, and they didn't. Obviously, they hit very well in the Kansas City series. And look at that. We got a three-way tie for first. By the way, do you know the Chicago White Sox, who will suck, yes, even though they're 2-2 to start the season, their starting pitchers in 4 games have not given up an earned run. I don't think anybody had that in their baseball bingo card.
You don't think that
Not much to take out of last night except the major positive was Jose, as you said, looking healthy.
How confident are you that the White Sox finished dead last in the division?
Oh, 100% they'll finish dead last. But kudos to them for their pitching being good so far.
Right now.
They haven't given up an earned run. Their starting pitching hasn't given up an earned run. But that'll go away.
Last question on the Guards. We'll move on to our last topic.
Yeah.
But obviously a rough debut for Ortiz.
Yeah.
You mentioned he wasn't great in spring training. At what point, if he has another rough start, when do we start having to at least not take the panic button out, but at least figure out where it is?
They're
3 starts, 4 starts?
They're going to give him a month, which is 5-6 starts. If he's terrible, then you consider. The problem is their only 2 other starting options right now are pitching in the bullpen. So if you're going to replace him with Cantillo or McKenzie, and McKenzie pitched pretty well last night late in the game. I mean, like I said, I didn't see it at the end, but I just reading about it, he pitched well. So that was a positive. But those guys are not going to be stretched out. They're not going to be, ready to go 5-6 innings. So if you do make the switch to McKenzie or Cantillo, I could see if Ortiz is struggling, like after 3-4 starts, I could see them sending Cantillo down to the minors, having him make a start or 2 down in AAA, and then coming up and replacing Ortiz. But hopefully that won't happen. He's got talent, and it's just 1 start. Hopefully they'll be able to. The Guardians are usually pretty good when it comes to pitching and being able to fix these guys that are having some issues. But it's been pretty ugly so far for the Guardians in terms of Ortiz. All right, Mike.
All right, let's get to our last topic of the
Yeah.
day, guys. Game Time is going to bring us this topic, and there's nothing like the energy of a Major League Soccer match. The chance, the atmosphere, the last-minute goals. If you want to experience it all live, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever with last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying all your Major League Soccer tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as kickoff gets closer, so you can score amazing seats at a great price. Take the guesswork out of buying these tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So FanDuel put out its over-under win totals for the upcoming season.
Yes.
And they put a number out for the Browns, and I'm curious on your guys' opinion of. Then we'll look at the big picture number for the AFC North and figure out if there's any place you think we could make some money. Now, this is
it
obviously
the lowest?
in
We
the
talked
AFC
about
North.
this the other day. What's that?
It is the lowest in the AFC North. It is not the
Well,
lowest in the AFC.
There was no debate that it was going to be the lowest in the AFC
I'm just
North.
saying, it's not the lowest on the board.
Okay.
So FanDuel
Yeah.
set the Browns' win total for 2025. This is pre-draft at 5.5 wins. The over is plus 105. The under is minus 125, which means more people early on are betting the under on 5.5 wins. Dustin, 5.5, the FanDuel line. Does that feel right?
Oh yeah.
Too high or too low for the
it's
Cleveland Browns?
it's probably right there. You could have made it 4.5, and I'd have been like, that's fine too. I think
Right.
I think it's right where it should be. You know, the Browns are not going to be a very good team next year. Let's be honest. We don't know who their quarterback's going to be. They don't have a lot of talented pieces at the skill positions. They are getting old on both lines. I just think that there's a lot of concerns with this football team. Now, it could all change if you get the right quarterback, or maybe you get one of these veterans that comes in here and you know, whatever it may be, finds that Flacco, you know, lightning in a bottle. I think it's certainly possible. I would take the under 5.5. There's no doubt.
Tyvis, you with Dustin on the under? No, you're on the over.
You know I'm on the over. I
Yeah.
told you the Cleveland
Plus
Browns,
money on it, man.
The
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns will not be picking in the top 10. Who got the 10th pick in the
Has he
draft?
got a Browns prediction
And what
right?
was his,
Ever?
Yes.
Ever?
Yes.
Yeah, he has. But
Okay.
he's wrong on
Since
this
I've been
one.
on the show, or
Period.
Who is picking
I'm never
10th?
wrong.
Who's picking 10th?
Who's picking 10th? And what was
Hold on one
Cowboys?
I think it is the Cowboys.
No, I think the Cowboys
Or
are
is it the Raiders?
12. No, the Raiders are 7.
Saints?
10th is the Chicago Bears.
What was their
Raiders
record?
are 6. Chicago Bears have the 10th pick. Their record in 2025 was
7-10? 6-11?
the Chicago Bears were 5-12.
Oh, 5-12.
So I gotta
They'd still be under. The 10th pick. Oh no, you said they wouldn't be in the top 10.
Yeah, so they
So
got
11th is who?
gotta win.
Who's 11th, Mike? Because you said
I just went back and forth on 3 tabs. Hold
Yeah,
on. Now,
come on.
I got them all up now. I'll keep them up. 11th is the 49ers, who won 6 games.
Okay. So
They gotta
based on that, they're going to finish 11th or lower, which would be 6 wins. So you got the over.
I gotta win in 6 games exactly. But I think that in the NFL is weird. You know, it's nothing is really year to year. There are some players and some teams that are year to year, but a lot of the times, you know, some things. Obviously, the defense. One year they was really good. This past year they weren't. I think this upcoming season they're going to do some things to get back to who the basis of the Browns are, and I think that that's going to allow them to win some games. At the end of the day, it's going to be some gritty, tough football have to be played, and that team has to get that mentality that they got to get back to taking the fight to the other teams. You know, if they do that, they'll be able to grind out some 12-6 games or some 9-3 games if that's what it comes down to. Obviously, Dustin Hopkins got to get his thing back to what it was because I don't know what the heck he got going on. But I think that they can find 6 games. When I look at their schedule, it's a very tough schedule this year, but I think that they can find a way to get 6 games.
All right, so when you predict how many games a team is going to win, obviously you're just guessing. But I always like to think of it as, okay, if they played the season 100 times, you know, there'd be extremes, right? But what result would happen most often? And I think the result that would happen most often for the Browns
5-12
is probably 5-12.
Yeah.
I was going to say somewhere between 4 and 6. That somewhere 4, 5, and 6 would be the most often. Yes, there's a 1 out of 100 where they win 9 games or 8 games and 0 games in 1 game. But probably 4, 5, or 6. So I split the difference. So I go with 5. I think they go 5-12. That's based on right now. Now, by the time we get to training camp, it could be different. But as of now, the Browns have probably the worst quarterback situation in the league. Is that fair to say?
Fair.
They have, except for maybe Tennessee, the worst skill position talent in the league.
Yes, we talked about that
Right.
before. Yep.
Okay. Their offensive line, you said it, it's old. To me, there's no short things at tackle or center.
No.
For them. There's no short things on the D line besides Myles Garrett. There's no short things at linebacker. Even though they disappointed last year, I still think the secondary is pretty good. But I got no running back. I got one wide receiver. I got one solid tight end, no quarterback, a mediocre offensive line at best, nothing in the front seven besides Myles Garrett. I don't know how I can predict that team to win more than 5 games. What am I hanging my hat on with them?
I think for me, everything that you just said is 100% true. I would agree with everything you said. And I would say that last year they were pretty much in the same boat.
Yeah.
And I would say when I look at their wins and losses, they lost a lot of games by a touchdown or less.
Right, but you could say that about any team.
True.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying this year,
Yeah.
because the year before they won those games. So that's why I'm saying,
Right.
as bad as this team was last year, horrible, they still had the opportunity to win a lot of these games. So therefore, if they just tweak a couple of things here, I'm not saying they're going to win them all, but they're going to win some, I believe. So I think that ultimately could get them to 6 wins.
Yeah, I mean, we're debating between 5 and 6.
Correct.
I mean, it's not that big a difference.
I'm saying that
I
at
don't
some
think-
point that they'll win at least 2 more games.
Yeah, listen, if the
They
Browns
win.
finish 6-11 this year, I don't think either of us is going to be surprised.
I'm not going to be like, oh, I was
Dude,
right.
Now, if
do
they
they-
win 8-9 games, I'll be very
Yeah,
surprised.
If they win 6 games, do they keep their jobs?
I think they're keeping their jobs no matter what.
Okay.
I'd say 90% they keep their jobs.
Okay.
The season would have
Is that the right answer?
Dude, don't you think what Jimmy Haslam said yesterday sort of solidified the fact that he believes in them and he's going to listen to them?
Dustin, is
Yes.
is that the right choice?
But you never know with Jimmy.
What? No matter what to keep them?
Yes.
Ask me in 8 months.
Yeah.
8
So-
months.
so
if
the
it's-
rest of
if
the
it's a
AFC North.
disaster,
Yeah.
everybody gonna be outside his house
Ask
with
me
picking
in,
signs.
That's
ask
true.
me
Fire him.
Thanksgiving. How about that?
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
So the rest of the AFC North, just for fun, let's look at the
Yeah.
other 3 teams. Figure
Why
out
don't
who
we
takes-
guess what?
I don't hit the button. Steve took that before you could say anything. I got all the other teams though. So this is the AFC North. We could guess teams outside of the AFC North. Initial thoughts on the Ravens being at 11.5 here, guys.
These are all good numbers, man. Like,
about
probably pretty on. I like the Bengals over.
I like the Bengals over 2. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but
I like the Bengals at 9. Exactly.
Yeah, Ravens at they're gonna be right at 11-12. These numbers are pretty
Yeah.
pretty on, man.
Yeah.
I would say, listen,
The
I
Steelers the only one that's like.
I'll take the under on the Steelers, especially.
Oh,
really?
Finally, I am. If they get Aaron Rodgers, they're gonna win like 3 games.
really think it's gonna be that bad.
Oh, I take that to the bank.
Watch.
I take that to the. If they get Aaron
Why
Rodgers,
do you think? I mean, I'm not high on Aaron Rodgers
gonna
right
get
now,
like
but you're
9
lower on
wins.
him than I am. I don't. Why do you think they're gonna be that bad with him?
Dude, that personality with that,
It's a bad fit.
I think it's a bad
from
fit.
that
I think
perspective.
that's a big part of it, man.
Yeah.
Look, Rodgers can still ball. There's no doubt. You saw it this year.
All of his teammates love him.
Do they?
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing.
They said.
I know Garrett
Oh,
Wilson
hey,
loved him.
hey.
They said that
Listen.
he's misunderstood.
Look, brother, I'm telling you right now, if I was teammates with Rodgers, I wouldn't say a word about him. I wouldn't be like,
Yeah,
I wouldn't say
right.
anything bad about Aaron Rodgers.
No. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't need that guy on my bad side.
All I'll say about the Bengals,
He'll be
listen, you never
sticking
know
a
from
voodoo
your-
doll.
Right.
I'll be like, oh, what's going on here?
The Bengals at 9.5. They won 9 games last year with the worst offense in the league. They
Worst
played
defense in the league.
worst defense in the league.
Say what you
They
talking
played
about.
better defense. Like for the final 5 games when they played great, their defense went from worst in the league to below average. And the Bengals with just an average, if they can get the defense to close to average, can win 11, 12 games with it if their defense is average. Because I don't think there's a team in football that's got a better offense than the Bengals. And that's with issues at guard. They've got issues at both guards. Besides that, they're loaded on offense.
They could trade.
So,
They could trade the Browns for Tevin Jenkins.
I wanted the Bengals to sign Tevin Jenkins.
Give us a second round. You can have him.
I'd do it. But actually, I wouldn't because that was stupid. If the Bengals could have signed him, paid him more money. But anyway, they're going to deal with guard in the draft. But go ahead, Mike.
Give me another team. Pick a team. We could pick their
Kansas City.
Before I tell you,
Yeah.
I'll give. We don't have graphics for these. I'll just tell you.
Yeah.
But I'll give you the chance to guess on all these. KC.
I'll nail these ones.
All right.
Kansas-
They're not that hard.
I would
Kansas City,
say-
I'll say 12.5.
11.5 for Kansas City.
10.5.
Dustin 1 for 1 nailed it to a T. 11.5.
Well, you
with
give us the
more
team.
money on the under than the over.
You give
or
us the
worse
team,
size.
we'll guess.
We'll just go down the line because we got 5 minutes here.
Well, you don't go down the line because then we're going to know what the order is.
no,
So-
it's alphabetical order down the
Oh,
line.
okay. Go ahead.
Arizona
7.5.
6.5.
7.5.
8.5.
Ooh.
Really?
Okay.
The Falcons.
9.5.
8.5.
8.5.
Dustin way off 7.5. They're not buying the
Oh.
Penix hype.
Yeah.
Terrible division.
We did the Ravens, Buffalo. Dustin, your Bills.
12.5.
11.5.
10.5.
Tyvis got it. 11.5. The upstart Panthers. Bryce Young.
4.5.
6.5.
Bull nailed it.
It is 6.5. Nailed it, Bull. The Chicago Bears. Is FanDuel buying the Caleb Williams hype?
I bet you they are. I'm going to say 8.5.
Ben Johnson's there.
7.5.
That's a good answer. I would go the opposite way. 9.5.
8.5. Bull, you're on fire
Yes.
here. Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas always gets overhyped.
8.5.
7.5.
I think Dustin's got it. 8.5.
7.5. Tyvis got that one. The Broncos. Bo Nix.
9.5.
8.5.
Dustin and Ty got that one. The Lions.
10.5.
Dustin got it. If Dustin gets it right off the bat, I'm going to just give it to
Oh
him.
my
He said he was
God.
going to nail it.
All right.
The Packers.
10.5.
9.5.
9.5 it is.
Yeah.
The Houston Texans.
8.5.
The Texans.
This is a tough one.
It is a tough one.
it's a
8.5.
9.5.
I'm going 9.5 too. It's a bad division.
9.5.
Yeah.
I am like one off every time.
Indianapolis.
7.5.
6.5.
6.5.
7.5. I need you guys to filibuster for 20 seconds.
Okay.
Go.
All right, about the
Yeah.
Colts. Who is going to be the starting quarterback for the Colts?
I think Richardson's still has a
Anthony
chance.
Richardson.
They signed Daniel Jones, though.
Cares.
Yeah, but
Cares, dude.
it's
You still like him?
Richardson?
Anthony Richardson.
Yes, he's like 21 years
I know.
old, man.
I'm much more a believer in Bryce Young in Carolina than I am with Richardson in the Colts.
I agree. I agree with that.
I'm not saying
Anthony Richardson to me, he kind of gives me the Jalen Milroe vibes.
Oh, really?
Where he's just like a freakish athlete, but like
He's very mature. He like the NFL to him, like he was like living with his like mom in
Yeah.
college. Like that's
Right.
He took care of everything. You know what I mean? Like getting to the NFL with grown men who are married dudes and having to deal with all this pressure and stuff. Like give him a couple years, man.
Didn't he ask out
that's
of the
why he
game?
needed a blow.
Yeah, I think.
Have you ever seen a quarterback
I
do
think
that?
there's a chance
would never do that again.
He may have been babied growing up.
Yeah.
And there's a chance that he needs to toughen up.
He will never
That's
do
tough
that.
for a
He will
quarterback.
never do that again.
Oh, my God.
He said he should have lied.
What do you think his teammates were saying when that happened?
The offensive line probably was like,
probably said a word that starts with a
MFR,
P."
I've been in the game the whole time. I'm tired too.
Yeah, that was bad.
All right, next
ahead.
up, Jacksonville. New coach, same roster.
4.5.
There's a lot of variety here. It's higher than that.
No, Jacksonville
I'm going
is
7.5.
7.5.
7.5. You nailed it. How about Geno Smith and the Raiders?
6.5.
6.5.
5.5.
6.5. Year 2 for Harbaugh, Herbert, and the Chargers.
9.5.
Wow, Dustin, you're good.
That's a great answer.
9.5. Yeah.
The Rams,
8.5.
8.5.
9.5. Higher on the Rams. Miami,
8.5.
8.5.
Yeah.
it is 8.5, and I love the under on that one. Minnesota won 14 games last season. What do you think their
9.5.
8.5.
9.5.
9.5.
8.5. I was
Bull
right.
got it, 8.5. The Patriots, Drake May, big offseason spenders.
7.5.
5.5.
6.5.
7.5.
7.5.
What?
Travis got it, yep. The New Orleans Saints.
That's crazy.
4.5.
I'm just
Carr?
reading you what FanDuel put out there.
Derek Carr.
4.5.
I can't believe the Patriots are 7.5.
Derek
Go
Carr,
ahead.
right? Okay. it's
Saints.
Saints.
Derek Carr is still the quarterback.
4.5.
5.5.
No, 6.5.
Dustin for the dub.
You got to be kidding
The
me.
Giants.
3.5.
4.5.
Who's this again?
Giants.
3.5.
Oh, they're 4.5.
4.5.
5.5. The Jets.
Really?
The Jets.
6.5.
Who's their quarterback?
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields.
Like
Yeah,
6.5.
I really like the talent on that team, but it's Justin Fields.
I think Tyvus is on it.
Yeah, I think it's 6. I'm with him too. 6.5. Oh, wow.
The Eagles, defending Super Bowl champions.
11.5.
12.5.
11.5.
Dustin got 11.5. Bull, you were late, but you also got it.
You did get
We did the Steelers. This one,
This fun.
Yeah.
the 49ers.
7.5.
No.
All them people they lost?
9.5.
No. They lost a lot. 7.5.
10.5.
Wow.
What?
We were
With who?
way off.
That is the one that we have disagreed
The
with.
Niners always get. Well, to me, the Patriots was the big. I don't know how the Patriots are 7.5. I don't know how the Patriots are 2 better than the Jets. I don't buy that, but go ahead.
All right, Seattle.
Who the hell's their quarterback?
Sam
What's his
Darnold.
face? Darnold.
Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
7.5. 7.5.
7.5. I'm with Tyvus.
No, 8.5.
8.5.
All right, I'm staying 7.5.
And Bull, you're right. You stayed on the right side of history at 7.5.
Hey,
3 more.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield.
9.5.
8.5.
9.5.
Dustin, you got it. 9.5. Tennessee,
4.5. 4.5.
5.5.
You said the Browns weren't the lowest.
On FanDuel, it turns out
They're tied?
it tied for the lowest. They
Tied,
didn't go
yeah,
anything
tied for the
under 5.5. Now, on other books, I have seen lower. The Giants are at 3.5 on ESPN Bet and on Bet Rivers.
Yeah.
So other things have gone lower. And last but not least, the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels, year 2. They won 12 games last year.
9.5.
8.5.
Big drop-off, Bull. Dustin.
9.5.
And Dustin ends it with a dub. That was your over-under win total.
Tyvus said 9.5 first.
Well, this was you versus him.
Oh, okay.
G. Bush isn't here today, guys, but as we do Super Chats, we have talked about G. Bush's jerk chicken guy. G. Bush's jerk chicken guy is officially here with some jerk chicken in hand. So bring it out.
Oh, beautiful.
And we're gonna eat some. We're gonna eat some chicken here as we do Super Chats.
I said I wasn't
going
going to eat, but now I feel like I got to try it.
This is Omari. Omari, sit down.
Chicken right here,
Join the
man.
club. This is Omari, G. Bush's
Omari,
jerk
thanks,
chicken
man.
guy.
Oh, you're welcome, guys.
So, Bull.
Got the rice and peas.
Rice too.
Very good.
I always feel like it's gross to eat on TV, but I don't
It
really
kinda
care.
is,
I
but-
don't really care.
It's YouTube. It's not gross on YouTube.
Oh.
So I'll do Super Chats real quick while you
Yeah.
guys get to enjoy the food, and then
It's very
we
good.
will
man,
discuss
some
whether or not G.
Jamaican
Bush's
food,
jerk chicken guy delivered. But
Respect, man.
You make me want to go
Jamaican?
visit my
Jamaican?
dad.
From Jamaica?
Yeah, from Jamaica, yeah.
What
yeah.
part?
Kingston, place called Washington Garden.
My
Yeah,
dad
man.
is in Runaway Bay.
Yeah, run of it, yeah. That's cool, man.
Very
Bull-
good.
Bull, I didn't make it too hot, because remember last time it was a little too hot for you.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Party. Yeah, I usually have.
I like it spicy.
I love it spicy,
Yeah,
but
for
people, some people here
Very good, though.
don't like it spicy.
Oh, this is
so-
excellent.
Yeah, man, excellent.
Mike, give us the Super Chats while we
all right,
stuff
we
our
got 2
faces.
Super Chats real quick. First one comes from Buckeye Paulie, who says,
Yo, man, tell you,
"If
man.
I'm drafting Hunter,
You should have made it a little more spicy. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I do.
if I'm getting Hunter, I'm starting him at cornerback and moving Emerson to safety. Put an extensive package together at receiver for Hunter, and then he's returning kicks. I'd use him exactly like they used Dion."
That's crazy that everybody is out on Martin Emerson after one bad season. That's crazy.
Well,
I think he'll bounce back.
I certainly hope so.
I think he'll
He's
bounce
too aggressive, dude.
Well,
The
he
rice
has,
is
he
really
has
good.
to
The
be.
rice is
'cause
great.
He don't have the long speed, so he tries to beat you up with his hands. He just got to do a better job of cutting routes off down the field. That's all.
Yeah.
Do you have a restaurant?
So we're looking into like a food truck type of thing. So I have something talking
Okay.
with my buddies right now. So we're looking into getting something going. You know what I mean?
Where can you get this now?
Yeah, man. Right now you can get it from pretty much private orders.
Okay.
So I'll take private orders. So you can email me personally at omarijerk@gmail.com, or you can check out my Instagram page. It's omari_jerk_chicken.
Spell Omari.
OMARI. Yeah, so you can find me there where you could just, message me. I do private
Folks,
events.
Email
so,
this guy, dude.
Yeah, it's
This
really
guy-
good.
man, good.
This shit's fire.
There's just
Yeah,
some
man.
It
authentic.
is good.
Yeah,
jerk
you
milk.
see.
Like this is how
Can
it
you-
tastes
Yeah.
when I went down.
Yeah, I mean, the whole purpose of me coming from Jamaica, moving here is just to get people here in Cleveland to go to Jamaica without buying a plane ticket to get there, you know?
Right.
And I feel like having these flavors and having the smoke from the fire and the smoke and making this chicken and marinated for a bunch of different days and stuff like that is just give you a real taste of the Caribbean and, you know, things like that. So.
Is there any good Caribbean food here?
To me, you know, I try places, but I'm not too fond of certain places, honestly. You know, I feel like in New York, I used to live in New York City.
Yeah.
I feel like there you can't really hide anything, you know, if they don't know you're good or not. But in Cleveland, it's a little bit different. There's not a lot of like, you know, melting pot here. So, but I'm not really impressed with the food in Cleveland. So I figured, you know, make my own food, you know, and
Nice.
do it from that.
Where'd you live in New York?
Yeah, I used to live in the Queens, like near, actually I was a Mets fan. I used to live in Corona, Queens.
Okay.
Yes, I would drive past Shea Stadium at Flushing Meadow Parks all the
Yeah.
time when I was a kid.
Meadow,
So.
US
Yeah,
Open.
man. Yeah.
There's good food in Cleveland, but obviously not Jamaican food.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a little hard. You know, New York's much bigger, so there's more variety of cultures in New York.
Right.
But this is really good.
Yeah, man.
I like it.
Excellent. Bull, I did not put spice on this chicken because of you. You're honestly more. For
I like
me,
a little spice.
For
You
me,
it up for
I would
us.
kill it with spice.
I'm sorry,
You
guys.
can't put too much in there.
Yeah,
George.
exactly. 'Cause,
Next
you
time
know,
spice.
Next time spice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just
Ty, how does
want to
this
make sure
compare-
everybody like it or I can eat it. You know. So,
Ty,
yeah,
how
but
does this compare
usually-
to some of the Jamaican food you had growing up?
Listen, this tastes really similar to it. Now, the ones I had is a little bit more spicy, but you can't
my
put,
fault.
you can't put too much of that jerk on there because if you do,
I can taste the spice.
Like
it
you
just
would.
needs
It's
the
like-
next kick.
you only gonna make that mistake one time.
It's
you
delicious,
just
though,
need
and the
a
rice
nice
is really
little
nice.
kiss of it on there, so
Rice
the
is
rice
nice.
and stuff.
Rice is nice.
Yeah. Man.
Thank you for bringing
Yeah,
that. man.
anytime.
Yes, thank
man.
you
guys
so
are
much.
Awesome, man. Thank you. I watch your show every day, so
We
obviously,
appreciate it.
Oh, cool,
you know,
man.
met G. Bush. That was a crazy story too. So that
Yeah.
was
Tell
awesome.
it, yeah.
Have we heard the story?
How did
Yeah.
that friendship come up?
You got the whole G. Bush story. So I was
Yeah.
at a gas station pumping gas, and I see this
This is how
guy.
every G. Bush story starts.
I see this Range
remember
Rover,
that,
right?
yeah.
You know, G. Bush is very incognito. It's
Oh,
a
yeah,
G.
oh,
Bush
yeah.
on his license plate,
Yeah.
right? So I go up to him and I'm like, "Oh, G. Bush," and I listen to you on the radio and all this stuff, you know. So we're talking about sports.
Yeah.
And at the end of our conversation, we had a really good conversation. At the end of it, I was like, "Man, G. Bush, I'm making this jerk chicken, man, and I know you're a guy that eats food, you know. So I want you to try this,
Yeah.
you know." And I literally went to the guy's house that same night. I made some chicken, brought to his house, and I kid you not, me and G. Bush was up in his house till 2 a.m. in the morning. My wife is asking me like, "Who are
Where
you
you
with
at?"
right now?" You know what I mean?
What's her name?
Yeah, exactly. So we really kicked it off, spent a lot of time together, and I've been making, you know, food for him for parties and different
Yeah.
get-togethers and stuff
I
like
just listen
that.
Well,
This
you
guy
made
talk all
food
day.
at his birthday.
Yeah.
Not this year, but last year.
Last year I met some of you guys there.
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
And the
man.
food was great.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, excellent.
I would like
excellent.
to. So, what are some of the other like Jamaican foods?
Curry
that-
chicken.
Yeah, curry chicken. So you know, I'm
That
part
curry
Indian
chicken.
too.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom's side is Indian, and everything. So we grew up with a lot of different
got the
like
oxtails
spices,
too?
oxtail, curry
Chicken tikka masala.
Yeah, well, different. So Jamaican Indian is different from Indians,
okay.
right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
different
I gotcha.
culture mix. Yeah.
What do you feel about the breakfast dish? What is it?
Ackee and saltfish, which is
Yeah.
the Jamaican national dish
Yeah.
that we're very fond of, obviously. But love it. I mean, I grew up on this stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just sad that sometimes you can't get that authentic feel in a way, you know, in Cleveland. But I mean, I grew up on this stuff, and it just really brings back memories to me, especially when I eat certain foods. Just brings me back to when I was a little kid back home.
What's a big? Go ahead.
Sorry,
No, go ahead.
so Caribbean food,
Yeah.
like whether it be the Bahamas, you know, Turks, whatever it may be, like down there, is all similar stuff, or is it
little
like
bit-
Jamaica
yeah.
different, way different?
Jamaica is different.
Yeah.
I guarantee that, tell you that, and Jamaican people will tell you that too. You know, everybody has their own thing that they're good at, but nothing like Jamaica. You know, Tyvis can tell you. You know, the food in
Yeah.
Jamaica is just
It's second to none.
it's second to none.
yeah.
For real,
Ooh-wee.
big time. So.
Well, I wish you luck.
Yeah, man.
I hope the food truck would be really cool.
Yeah,
Food trucks are big.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are.
I'm
a way
looking
to
at
start,
at
yeah.
being at the Cleveland like the Caribbean Fest that's coming up in May. So
Okay.
I'm looking
I
at
think
getting
it's a
like
good spot to start.
That'd be awesome.
nice
All right,
little
let us
place
know.
there.
We'll promote it. that you're going to be
100%.
there.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Because this
I
food is
appreciate
good.
that.
I'd love to try some more of your stuff.
Yeah, man.
It was
excellent.
really, really good.
Yes.
We had some
I
great
cleaned
fried
the
chicken.
plate.
Yeah, watch out. Okay, yo, Tyvis, I mean Jamaican in my youth.
Yeah, I'm going to finish
It's been a
it.
while, man.
No, we had some
Wow.
fried
Yeah,
chicken
man.
from Grippy's when they came in.
Yep.
We now had some great jerk chicken from
Yeah.
our guy Omari. He came through. He
Great
delivered. Ty,
hookup.
I'm glad you were here. Omari,
Yeah,
man.
thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Well, give us
We
the
got
last
one
super
last
chat,
super
Mike.
chat as we head to overtime here. And
Okay,
William
on
Beck
air-
sent it
on
in.
YouTube.
William Beck clearly went to the comedy show because he says grab your peanuts. It's time to head to overtime. So if you're at the comedy show, you get that. If you don't, it's definitely out of context. But be careful how you pronounce certain words depending on where you are in the country. I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, Mike said the word penis in his first sports broadcast.
Ever.
He did?
In
I
Tennessee.
What were you trying to say?
Peanuts.
Oh, peanuts. Oh,
Yeah.
My
that's
boss
easy.
told me that I sounded like a damn Yankee, and if I wanted to fit in down there so people would like me, I have to say certain words differently. And in Appalachia, they call peanuts peanuts. And when
Which is weird. You shouldn't have tried to do that. Because
I admit,
if
I
they're
learned-
weird for
I
saying
learned
peanuts,
my
then
lesson.
let them just do that.
But yeah, it did not come out as peanuts.
Peanuts.
Let's just put it that way.
By the way, there was a segment of people from Ohio. I think it might be Southern Ohio because Keith Britton does it, although Anthony Lima does it too, that say Jaguars instead of Jaguars.
Jaguars.
That's a whole weird thing to me. I don't know what that's all about.
We'll see you in overtime. Peace.
Yeah, man, respect.